right, it's the Outlaw Radio Network. Thanks for checking out the show. October 20th, 2013. We are 7 days removed from the big Todd Best, Patty Lent interview last week. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Before we do, let me introduce my temporary co-host for the moment until St. Paul gets here.
I don't know if I've got it. Oh, there we go.
There you are.
I do have a live mic.
You do. You're live, man. You're hot.
All right.
And your mic's hot, too.
Bada boom. Bada boom.
Klaatu joins us in studio. What's going on, buddy?
Well, it's definitely been interesting few weeks, 3-4 weeks, whatever, with everything national, and then which you troublemakers got stirred up last week.
Yeah, well,
just, it's those impromptu little things that really hit pay dirt sometimes, and that definitely was some good. That there was some good internet radio.
Yeah, it was some good internet radio right there. We're breaking rules and boundaries now. Special thanks again to Todd Best and Bremerton Mayor Patty Lent for coming in and joining us last week. And his hat. You want his hat off? Oh, he wants to take your hat off.
Am I on camera?
Yeah, you're on camera. You're famous. But I think your hat is messing with the green screen.
Oh, cool.
I think that's what he's saying.
Well, my hairdo under the hat would probably mess with it even more. So let's just go with the special effects.
Fair enough. All right. So, hey, really quick, is Paul here? Strip, is Paul in there? Is Paul here? He brought Dez. I want to open really quick with a quick wrap from what happened last week, and then we'll get Klaatu's thoughts as a guy who's a Kitsap County native, a business owner, although not in Bremerton. But I think that the people in
I do business in Bremerton.
Yeah. And I think the business owners in South Kitsap, North Kitsap, Bremerton are all kind of facing the same thing out here. We're all kind of isolated from the I-5 corridor, and we're trying to do business a little bit differently. So I think the same stuff faces everybody. If you have not been under a rock and you live in Bremerton, then you've seen the stories. And the story we had it on the show last week. We broke it, folks. We were ahead of the Sun. We were ahead of all the stations in Seattle, all the TV and radio stations, all the websites. Now, a lot of people will say, well, do they even really care what goes on over here? Well, they must, because after the Sun broke our story, then KCPQ broke it, Como broke it, Cairo FM, Cairo TV broke it. So they all picked it up and they all ran with it, and they were all citing Outlaw Radio, which is exciting. I want to clear up a couple of things that weren't true in the story. The first thing is, and the Sun started this, and I'm not coming down on the Sun, but the Sun mentioned that the reason why it was even mentioned was because we gave both candidates the opportunity to ask each other a question. Well, that in itself is true. We did do that. But the conversation came up about Todd Best and the Starbucks issues. And this all gets back, if you've been under a rock, Todd Best, candidate for the city of Bremerton mayor, was kicked out of any Starbucks anywhere. Banned. Because according to the letter, and we'll read the letter here shortly, but according to the letter, and St. Paul can come on in whenever he wants to. I know we don't like to bring him in during his segment, but I want him to be in here for this. Was banned because of inappropriate behavior to staff members, inappropriate sexual conversation with staff members, and a refusal to essentially stop doing what he was doing. Now, I was never there, but I know what the letter says. That's what the letter alleges, and it was enough that they had a Kitsap County Sheriff's officer serve it to him. We posted a copy of the letter with the sheriff's name and badge number and signature on our Facebook page for Outlaw Radio Network. So it's all there if you want to go read it. But the question did not come up because we said, Mayor Lent, would you like to ask Todd Best a question? That sounds a little freaky and a little sided, like we set something up, and that's not what happened at all. What happened was 4 or 5 minutes before the opportunity for them to ask each other a question. In fact, Strip, do we have... Hey, Strip? Your mic's not on, Paul. Would you ask Strip if he has that clip ready to play?
The answer is yes. I've actually got it right here and ready to play for you.
Okay.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening, Paul. What's going on, buddy? You can't be in the room with two liberals at one time?
I can't. No, I can't.
Okay, Sam.
That's all right. He's in production. We'll bring him in.
Listen, as I explained to Des on our way in, it's not that my liberal friends are bad. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later. So what happened was before we even got to the point where they got to ask each other a question, I posed a question to Todd Best about how you're going to bring businesses back into town. Todd had a very lengthy explanation, including saying that he had talked to one of the owners of some of the properties. And then we gave Mayor Lent the opportunity to respond. And if you're ready to play that,
yep, it's ready.
Here is what Mayor Lent said, and here is how the whole conversation about Todd Best and Starbucks got brought up.
All right.
No, that's the bump.
That's the bump.
Yeah, go ahead
He
and stop
actually
that.
came in with a war tribe.
The bottom one, right? Yes.
Well, first of all, that doesn't make any sense for the question that you ask as far as bringing business in. I've been working with Mr. Zarelli. He was in my office, and he said he never spoke to you, Todd. And I find many things that you're saying that are not necessarily that I'm going to accept. So this is a good time, since it's a conversation and not a debate.
Very good.
I'd like to know why you don't go into Starbucks.
I don't go into Starbucks because I had a disagreement with a lady who threw my cell phone into the garbage can. After throwing my cell phone into the garbage can, I took her off to the side and had words with her one-on-one. She was not happy with the way that I discussed the matter with her. Mm-hmm. She said that she didn't feel comfortable with having me in her workplace environment.
All right, so that is what, and that was the entire conversation. Mayor Lent brought it up on her own accord. It was not part of the conversation. In fact, when we asked Mayor Lent if she had a question to ask of Todd Best, she brought up something
different.
It was about the city parks department and why Todd felt like they were way overstaffed. That's what she brought up. So I want to clear that now. Some of the impression that I've gotten from some of the people commented is that it looked like we set Todd up to fail, and that isn't the case at all.
I did see a comment that somewhat may have been referencing that, but they were not very specific on it. I didn't get the impression that anybody was pointing a finger per se at us, because it had nothing to do with us. And I just want to point this out and be really clear. We got a lot of comments and a lot of questions. People wanted us to ask Todd Best about Starbucks and being kicked out. They wanted us to ask Todd Best about being kicked out of Lowe's for similar behavior, apparently. They wanted us to ask Mayor Lent about Lent Oil and the Superfund site and her responsibility for that, and her husband's responsibility for that. And they wanted us to ask if there was, about now where that Superfund site is, where the 9/11 memorial is now at, which saved him and Lent Oil apparently from having to clean it up. We chose to stay away from those issues because we didn't have any evidence to suggest anything one way or another. To us, it's all just political fluff right now.
Right. Well, and to be completely honest, the other end of this is too, Paul, let's be honest. You and I have known and discussed this off air for the last at least 4 months, that there were accusations that have been made about Todd Best getting kicked out of Starbucks.
Correct.
Look, folks, if you're shocked, we were shocked 4 or 5 months ago when we heard it, but we had nothing tangible to go with, so we don't bring it up.
And I will tell you this, I read the letter from his attorney, and I can listen. Again, I got 2 years of law school under my belt. I understand the legalese. I understand his attorney's job is to represent his client. And listen, first of all, there are always two sides to every story. That doesn't mean the waters are muddied. I cannot tell you what Todd did or did not do. Here's what I will say, however, with regards to his comments on this show. It never starts with, we had a disagreement over her picking my phone up and throwing it away. She picked it up for a reason and threw it away. Clearly, a lot of things happened prior to that, and Todd made a choice to not talk about that stuff. I can't tell you what those things are, but clearly the whole incident didn't start with Todd coming out of the bathroom and having his phone thrown away. Those things just don't happen.
Right. And
then all of a sudden she has a problem with him. You know what I mean? Obviously there's a lot more to the story than Todd said.
Did you get the impression, and I haven't really been all up on top of this from 4 months ago, but Paul, did you get the impression that the phone incident that Todd was talking about was kind of like the cherry on top of the parfait or the last straw or whatever? I mean, there were things leading up to that over a period of time.
I will say that's my interpretation, and I say that because I can't envision a young lady working in a Starbucks who would just say, I don't like this guy, I'm going to pick up his phone and throw it away for no reason, because she'd lose her job. Mm-hmm. Now, that could have been the case. I
Well,
just don't
and-
think it was.
And let me read this to back up your thoughts, and then I want to address the Todd Best situation here in a second and his candidacy for mayor. But I want to read this because I don't want anybody at home going, "Well, who do these yahoos think they are?" They're talking. He's been kicked out, and he gave a perfectly plausible, reasonable excuse why somebody might have asked him to leave. I'm going to read you the letter. I'm only going to read the first and fourth paragraphs. Because the middle two paragraphs are we don't normally like to do this, blah, blah, blah. Here's the reasons why. Okay. Dear Todd Best, this is a notice from Starbucks with the logo and everything, a notice of expulsion and warning against trespassing. First paragraph, Dear Todd Best, we regret to inform you that you have been expelled from Starbucks Coffee Company's locations for the reasons listed in this notice. Starbucks hereby revokes any license and privilege you might have to visit Starbucks locations. Starbucks requires that you leave its locations immediately and do not return. This expulsion notice is permanent and applies to all Starbucks locations. The fourth paragraph, and if you want to read the thing in full, it's on our website. Go to edgemediasource.com. There's a link at the top right above your video. Well, you're already there because you're watching the show.
Right.
Right above the video player, there's a link that gives you the audio of the interview, the video of the interview, and a link to this letter. The fourth paragraph, the reasons for this expulsion are as follows. Repeated inappropriate conversation with store partners. Threatening conversations with store partners, sexually explicit conversations initiated by Todd, fostering unsafe workplace for Starbucks employees, Todd lack of cooperation to cease his behaviors. This does not sound as though it's a one-time Todd peed in somebody's Kool-Aid. This sounds like from a Starbucks perspective that they feel this has been an ongoing culmination of behaviors.
When they use the word partners in there and then later employees,
Yeah.
are partners managers or
It's a good question.
are partners employees, and they call them two different things there? I mean,
Yeah.
that kind of throws me.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's a good that's a great question, and it's something that kind of stood out to me too. You called them partners at one. I'm assuming that when they say partners, that's their politically correct way of referring to their employees. Why they would do that is beyond me.
Yeah, I
You
don't
just
know
call
either.
them employees, but or partners. Maybe when they say
managers.
partners, maybe they're referring to customers. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, maybe partners is a more friendly way of saying customers.
But I will
maybe.
say this, and I'm not necessarily saying this in Todd Best's defense, but what I will say is if you're a corporation like Starbucks and say, because there's no, we don't know, okay? If the young lady that Todd Best had the altercation with, she could have been completely full of it. She could have been lying.
Sure.
Who knows what she told her superiors there that led them to take these steps? We just don't know. And I only say to people, take the body of work as a whole, and if you know Todd, then that will lend more to whether or not you vote or not vote for him. I can't listen. There's not enough there for me to make a determination on. I'm not his judge and jury. It's not for me to decide. I will say that I felt there was some deception from Todd in his answer because again, he started with, I had a disagreement with a young lady and she threw my cell phone away. Well, it didn't start there.
Sure.
You know it, I know it, Todd knows it. It never started there. So however that started.
And his answer didn't reflect what Starbucks implies in the letter as an
He didn't even
ongoing-
say that Starbucks told him he couldn't. She asked, why don't you go into Starbucks? His response could have easily been, Starbucks banned me from their locations, and here's why.
Right.
That would have been the truth. Instead, he said, I had a disagreement with a young lady. Well, no, that's not why you don't go into Starbucks. You don't go into Starbucks because they told you never to come back. Now, again, that could just be banter. So be it. Maybe he just misstated or misphrased. But I don't think anybody who's in politics is innocent.
Yeah, and I think I think there's a lot more evidence, if there is evidence, or testimony, if there is testimony, beyond what that letter is. And actually, for that letter coming from a corporate office that I'm sure is as big as what Starbucks would have, if I remember right, there was a couple typos or sentences in there that didn't even
Yeah, whoever wrote
perfect
this,
sense,
whoever
so-
wrote this letter needs to learn proper grammar.
You know,
that's
and,
for
and
sure.
I'm not saying that the letter's fabricated, but it's kind of tough because right now, in my opinion, what's going on is, okay, here's this letter, but we're not getting to talk to people that were allegedly the ones that complained about this or that. You know, we mentioned this girl and the cell phone, but was that the same girl all the time with these
Right.
other incidents?
Sure.
We don't know. We don't know that.
That's
either.
correct.
So now we're having like the the trial of public opinion.
Yeah, now we're being the Monday morning quarterback.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
what I do best,
exactly.
though.
So, in fairness, I think to Todd Best,
Yep.
I think, okay, like Doug said earlier, here's the letter, read it yourself, and it is what it is. We don't have anybody ready to swear testimony out
that's right.
anything. And if there was any kind of like criminal thing or really inappropriate sexual misconduct, I think there would have been at least like some misdemeanor charges
Or something. That's right.
And I don't see anything of that either.
That's
so,
right.
Todd's like he says, he goes at things a little stronger than like his New York style, I think he calls it, and does that make him a bad guy? No, I don't think so.
No,
He
not at all.
might not be the kind of person that some people would want to have to a black tails and tie dinner or something. Maybe, I don't know, but I just think that.
Hey, we have a
just
hold on. We
what
have
that is, the
somebody
letter.
calling. Hold on a second. Let's just go ahead and. Do you know how to answer this?
Mute your channel really quick, will you? Mute your channel, and you don't know how to mute it?
Nope. Let's just bring him on.
I love you running the board. Do you know how to bring him
Hey,
on?
caller.
Hello,
Hey,
Hello.
caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
this is Rod from Kingston.
Hey,
Rod,
Rod,
how
how
are
are
you?
you? Thanks for checking out the show tonight. What's on your mind?
Well, I just was seeing what Don Manning was doing and what you guys were doing down there.
Well, actually, I'll answer that for you. Don Manning reports. You decide. Fair and balanced.
Yeah.
Hey, is that you, Big Don?
Yeah, that's me, Rod. Way to go, cowboy.
Oh, I just had to call in. I just saw what was going on there, and we have to, keep the community informed and what's going on out here.
Yeah, but you're like me though, Rod. I mean, you don't live in the city of Bremerton, so hell, you can't even vote in this. You got no dog in this hunt, brother.
No, that's right. But you know what? I can run out into my chain and park.
Hey, let me ask you a question though. Let me ask you a question. I know you're up in Kingston, but if this was a mayoral election that you had a vote for, and let's take the candidates off the table for a second, because I don't want you to give your thumb up or thumb down on Lent or whatever. But if something like this rears its head 5 days before the ballots go out. And Paul and Don are both right in the sense that I think there's a lot of unanswered questions with this. Would this impact how you cast your vote, or would you have to step aside and say there's just too much stuff I don't know?
No, absolutely. You have to step back and take a look and see what's going on. I mean, and bring everything out. I mean, what's the real story here? I mean, that's the bottom line. What's the real deal? Is she really valid and good for Bremerton or not?
Well,
that's the question.
Yeah,
it
it is.
The stuff with Todd, then the letter and the Starbucks thing really is less of the question of whether instead of is the incumbent doing the job and should they be
Yeah,
reelected?
absolutely. You know what? That stuff with Starbucks, I think that's a bunch of crap. I mean, you got people doing things anywhere around the county, so on and so forth. Shoot, I might be disbanded from Texaco because I didn't pay my bill. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Hey, cowboy, as long as they don't ban you from buying any MGD, I mean, that's
absolutely.
Then we're
Yeah,
okay.
Coors Light or MGD, you're good. You're good to go there.
Here's the one thing I'll say, partner, is just that I think that character in our elected officials is an issue. And I can't say, I don't think any of us are trying to say what did or did not happen. But if a man goes in and his behavior gets to the point where he does get banned, I think the question that K-Dog was trying to ask is, does that level of behavior make you rethink a person's candidacy?
No, yeah, you're right. In all sincerity, taking all joking aside, yeah, you're right. You have to take a look at the person's character. But you know what? You have to step back and see what the real thing was.
Right. Sure.
Didn't Dory Monson have something about this on radio here a few days ago?
Yes,
Yeah,
he sure did.
He got it from us.
Oh, he got it from you. Okay, good.
Yeah,
I'm listening to Dory every afternoon every chance
Listen,
I get.
we broke this story before everybody else
And
did.
Dory's
That's
a
how
good
it-
guy. Dory's fair. Dory's very fair.
Well, absolutely. And he was throwing things out there, and he's like, "Hey guys, he threw. I think he have a clip on an interview with the guy and what he actually said and what he did?
Yeah,
That
that's
was off this show.
That was off this show that he got it from. He got it from us.
Okay, so
have you heard that?
In all fairness, guys, replay the clip. Replay the clip and listen to it.
Well, let's do that. Hold on. Let's play the clip. So Paul's got the
First
clip.
of all, that doesn't make any sense for the question that you ask as far as bringing business in.
Mayor Patty.
Yeah, this is
I've
Mayor
been
Patty
working
Lentz
with
setting up
Mr.
to that
Zarelli.
question.
He was in my office and he said he never spoke to you, Todd. And I find many things that you're saying that are not necessarily that I'm going to accept. So this is a good time, since it's a conversation, not a debate.
Very good.
I'd like to know why you don't go into Starbucks.
I don't go into Starbucks because I had a disagreement with a lady who threw my cell phone into the garbage can. After throwing my cell phone into the garbage can, I took her off to the side and had words with her one-on-one. She was not happy with the way that I discussed the matter with her. Mm-hmm. She said that she didn't feel comfortable with having me in her workplace environment.
And that was his answer. Now, I listen. What's the caller's name again?
Rod.
Rod. I
Call him
completely
Cowboy. Just call him
Cowboy. All right. Everybody gets nicknames. I'm K-Dog. Everybody gets a nickname. Cowboy. Listen, I agree with you with what you're saying in regards to his response. Makes it seem like a really valid disagreement. Not a big deal. The only thing I come back to, Cowboy, and I don't know if you've seen the letter. We had a copy of the letter from Starbucks. And the Starbucks letter, I'll just quote the last paragraph again. The reasons for this expulsion are as follows, and somebody at Starbucks needs to learn proper grammar. Repeated inappropriate conversation with store partners, threatening conversations with store partners, sexually explicit conversations initiated by Todd, fostering unsafe workplace for Starbucks employees, and Todd lack of cooperation to cease his behaviors. That implies to me that this is not a one-instance thing, because they talk about his refusal to change his behaviors. It just makes me believe from the letter that this is not just a one-time thing.
Okay, fair enough. But you know what? In the clip that you played there, was there anything explicit? What was he wrong?
No, but he did.
He really wasn't wrong.
Right. No, and in the clip, you're absolutely right. I guess the thing that throws me is when you read the letter from Starbucks, it alludes to, again, a quote, sexually explicit conversations initiated by Todd. Nothing with that would imply that there was anything sexually explicit said. So either it did happen and he didn't admit to it, or it happened on a previous occasion that helped lead to where we're at. The other thing that gets to me, Cowboy, that concerns me, and I'm not passing judgment on Todd.
No, because Kevin's already voted for him.
I haven't voted for him. I haven't sent in my ballot yet. In full disclosure, listen, I knew Todd Best back in 2000 when he bought the building that KITZ Radio was in when I was the program director when KITZ Radio was still in Bremerton. So I've known Todd for a long time. But this whole thing comes back to what happened in San Diego. Bob Fellner.
With the mayor?
Yeah.
With the mayor?
Yeah.
With the issue with the mayor down there? And,
Yeah.
Oh, by golly, didn't he get sentenced last week, I think?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
sir.
also was sued for sexual harassment. And I'm not saying that Todd would do it or could do it or any of that.
No, because we have nothing. We have no evidence.
Yeah, we got no evidence.
That he would.
But when you hear about a guy who's going into a local coffee shop and is kicked out, and the company kicking him out cites inappropriate conversations and sexual conversations and threatening conversations.
And an unwillingness to change his behavior.
And an unwillingness to stop. And then you look at how bad things got in San Diego with Fellner, the mayor in San Diego, who got run out of office, accused of sexual harassment, sued, in a big mess of trouble. And the only thing I can think of, holy cow, is that a risk that the voters...
I think you're missing... I think you're mixing apples and oranges there.
Okay.
Because you know what? Because the guy down in San Diego... I mean, there were women coming forth left and right.
Yeah, most of them were employees.
Come on.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, how many? There were women coming forth saying, "Hey, this guy harassed me in one form or fashion. It doesn't matter the fashion that he did it in. He did it, and he came forth and said, "Yeah, I did do it." Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing jail time. So how can you compare?
Well,
these two
and the only,
issues?
the only reason I would compare, and I'm not really comparing, I'm just saying, is that the kind of situation we want to open ourselves up for? Because I suspect, and this is just from human nature, that if Bob Fellner was a guy who was an activist in the community, getting volunteers to come together to repair tomb in the cemetery, he wouldn't be as high profile of a guy.
Was he a community organizer?
I don't know what he was, but what I'm saying is, if he wasn't the mayor, I don't know how many people would come forward and attack him for his behavior, even if his behavior was still as reprehensible as it was. The minute you become the mayor, you become any kind of major player in your community, a political and elected official, you have a target on you. And I'm not
power corrupts.
And well, I'm not even talking about power corrupts, but I'm saying,
oh, but it does.
I would not be.
Absolutely.
I don't know if and I'm not saying I would or wouldn't vote for him. Although I will talk later who I am voting for the city of Marin and why. But I don't know if I'm comfortable putting somebody into office that runs the risk of putting us in a spot where that even has to be a conversation. And Todd's a good guy. Don't get me wrong. I like Todd, and I love what he's done in our community with volunteers and getting stuff done at a community level on the grassroots stuff. I just wonder if in some voters' minds they're looking at this thinking, do we really want to risk that? I mean,
That could be, but I think the only people that, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but my mind was going to drift. I know.
No, go ahead.
The only people that probably could be affected by this Starbucks gate is the
I like that. I like that, Don. Starbucks gate. That's good.
Is the people that haven't already made their mind up, and I think probably 80 to 90% of the people in Bremerton that are going to vote have already made their mind up. And they're probably not even paying a lot of attention to this. But again, I have to say, and have Paul, having had a couple years at law school, I think would back me up on this. Please make a note of it, folks. That this is a letter that was made by somebody that works at Starbucks with these allegations that Todd denies. Todd Best denies this, except for the fact that he had words with somebody about his phone being thrown away. So without going to trial, without having people sworn in and testifying, I hate to say it, but I don't think we're doing a good service, in putting this out here the way that I'm hearing it, because there's too many clouds in this sky. And we don't know the facts. The only fact we know is what Mayor Lent asked, what he answered, and what's in that letter. We haven't got to, cross-examine, so to speak, or hear testimony sworn in, under oath. We just have this letter. The Scarlet letter is on the Starbucks letter is on Todd Best. So, I'm. If you ask me the question that you asked Cowboy there a while ago about would this affect my
would this
voting
affect
or
yours?
not, I would have to be like a witness to some kind of behavior like that, and a candidate that affected me to the point of where I thought that their judgment might be a little bit too hot for me to pull the lever on to put him into office. And
I have to say this, Kevin.
Yeah.
Quiet. Sit, Ubu, sit. I do agree with Don. 100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like I said, folks, I felt it coming. This is a moment.
Breaking news, hell has frozen over.
Yeah, right.
Could somebody bring me in?
But logic and reason generally dictates. And in this case, I think, I think we all kind of understand and agree and feel the same thing. I can't say that this is blown out of proportion, because I think that there's a lot of people that feel one way or another about this issue. And I mean, I know I've gotten a ton. All last week, I probably got 50 phone calls on my personal cell phone specifically about the interview, about that topic, about how it had blown up, and what people thought about it. And I was personally approached by two people at Lowe's while I was down there shopping, and both of them brought it up to me, and they brought up some similar incidents in Lowe's. So I think that the only thing that I can say is, and I have nothing to back this up other than other people coming to, so there's no proof. It's just statements, and it could be an axe to grind.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
And so
absolutely, I'm with you guys.
It's not
it
for
could be an axe to grind.
Yeah, it's not for me to judge.
You have to back off on this situation and go, hey, what's reality? Who's the real perpetrator here?
But on the same note, hold on, Cowboy.
Is it people are trying to smear him? or is it people that are really trying to do good for the
Right.
community?
But on the same note, Cowboy, where there's smoke, typically there's fire. And when you have more than one incident and you have at more than one location, there typically tends to be something to it. Now, that something could just be his rough around the edges East Coast attitude.
Yeah.
It very well could be. And that, honestly, living here my whole life, would not surprise me. That rubs people the wrong way.
I thought we had the pony calm down there a little bit and we're going to go for a ride, but it's starting to buck again.
But listen, two things I'll say. The people who believe that this is an axe to grind made a very valid point that this was brought up the Sunday before the ballots went out. Mm-hmm. I mean, this hit the cycle and the Kitsap Sun and the days before the ballots went out.
But what was the date on that letter?
Well, the letter was dated back in January.
Kevin's point, though, is that the mayor
brought it up the Sunday before, and there's some people who think that this is all convenient timing.
Oh, who cares?
The Kitsap Sun tried to take the story.
Yeah, the Kitsap Sun basically talked to Todd, who reiterated what he had said before.
Listen, the Kitsap Sun did not bother to properly cite Edge Media Source and the Outlaw Radio Network. So again,
they didn't properly research the story. In other words,
well, yes, they didn't cite us properly. They didn't give credit where credit was due.
Paul's bitter with that. I'm not. I just think that some people have to be trained how to handle a new competitor in town.
We're the fifth estate, brother.
I know.
It's all good.
But the other end of this is, and this is the only thing that I think really hurts Todd, is that he is a political newcomer, right? It's not like, let's flip this thing around and say it was Patty Lent that had the accusations, right? People could look at Patty's track record, see what she's done in office, see what she did as a county commissioner. They'd have a body of work to draw from when it comes to evaluating whether or not they're going to vote for Patty.
And can I say this, Kevin?
Todd doesn't have a body of work. So people are still forming their opinions of who Todd Best is. Now this thing rears its head, and because he doesn't have a body of work, this thing has to impact his candidacy.
And I will say this. Todd did not bring up Patty Lent and Lent Oil and the Superfund site. And he could have. And he could have. He chose not to. And I'm not saying that in his defense or anything. I'm just simply saying he made a choice not to, because there's no way he could be running against Patty Lent and not know about the issues surrounding that Superfund site.
Right.
But he made a choice not to bring that up.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And that in itself, is a concern for numerous reasons. But that's like Cowboy said, that's apples and oranges compared to what we're talking about. You said if Patty Lent, who is the mayor right now, was involved in some kind of fracas at a at a place like a Starbucks or a local restaurant or whatever, to the point where she had to have a written. You stay off the premises, or we're going to call the cops, and you're going to get charged with trespassing. Then that would be front page. I mean, this is somebody that's a mayor.
And to be honest, and I didn't have it in the clip, but Todd did respond by accusing Mayor Lent of sending an 82-year-old woman into the Bremerton Patriot newspaper offices to level accusations.
Mrs. Moshe
or something. So,
and what's fascinating
really?
is fascinating is that Mark Moshe, who's a big-time union guy, is actually doing a lot of pro Todd Best stuff, and he's out there and he's on the forefront now. He's a government union guy,
sure,
and I don't know if that makes an issue to anybody or not, but
you're picking fight.
Well, be careful what you call union and government. So that's kind of synonymous, That's not exactly the right terms, I think.
Hey, Cowboy,
who do we have on the phone here?
Hey, Cowboy, listen, man. I hope you continue to check out the show, and if you've got anything on the north end you ever want to bring to us, or you just want to call and talk about it, or vent about it, or rant about it, or anything that you want to put out there, keep checking out the show, and thanks for being a part of this tonight.
Every Sunday at 7, Cowboy. Every Sunday at 7.
Really? I didn't know that. Well, perfect. That'd be great.
Listen, do me a favor. Don't be talking about anything we did back in, the early 2000s that we still might have to ride the heat on either. We got to wait till that, what do they call that?
Statute of limitations?
Thank you. Yeah, I thought Paul would.
Oh, I think, Don, I think we're past those.
Okay, good.
Hey, Cowboy, it's okay to call with a fake name, too.
Yeah.
Right, and go ahead and just dish on him. Dish.
Yeah, that's right.
Free.
Don't give me any ideas.
Can't do that. You guys have a good night.
Thank you, Cowboy. There he goes.
Cowboy.
Take it easy.
All right. So again, I don't think I don't think anybody's going to know the whole story in this thing with the Todd Best and the Starbucks situation. I just don't think we're going to know. I don't think that Todd's going to talk about it much, because right now it's going to damage him if he does.
Well, he wants to distance himself.
Yeah, he wants to distance himself, which is the probably the wise move at this point, unless he could completely refute it. And even if he did talk, it wouldn't give us enough information to know what did or didn't happen. So I think it'll be curious. I thought that Todd. I know that I'm not a popular opinion with this, but I thought that Todd had a valid shot to unseat Mayor Lind. Not for any fault of Lentz, because I like Lind. I think she's been a good mayor for the city of Bremerton the last 4 years. I don't think everything has been smooth, but I think that her pluses far exceed the minuses. But I do think that there's enough of a groundswell of people who just hear incumbent or hear elected if somebody's been in politics for a while and think I'm just sick of them. I want them all out. And I think that Patty Lind could have taken the hit for that. I don't give Todd a lot of a chance now, unless his supporters. He's got plenty of time.
I don't know.
His supporters get out there and really make some waves and go doorbelling.
I was reading some comments on his page. According to some comments on his page, there's a poll out there on the Kitsap Suns website, and Todd's winning. So
really,
listen, I give him. You know what I give him for a chance of winning? 50-50. He either
really?
will or he won't.
Well, thanks for that expert Fox analysis.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Fox News just called. Would like to offer you a job.
At least it's not the Outlaw Radio Network calling the election at 4:00 in the afternoon. Listen, I
was right. Hey, let's switch gears really quick because we've got about 15 more minutes with Don, and you're invited to stay over as long as you want to tonight. I'll leave the
okay, if it doesn't get too crazy.
You and Paul don't go to fisticuffs in the driveway.
That's not going to happen. Paul
No.
and I are doing fine.
The federal government shutdown wrapped itself up late Wednesday night. Federal government reopened on Thursday. Good news for all federal employees and the private citizens who need to utilize those services that the federal employees provide. I wrote a very lengthy article that I keep forgetting to send to Caleb, which I'll send over to him tonight or tomorrow morning, that I basically laid out who I thought were the winners and the losers in the shutdown. The biggest loser that I had was the American people for obvious reasons, because this thing went on just way too long.
I would agree.
There were kids going in for experimental cancer treatments that were turned away at the door. It was ridiculous. But the other big loser that I saw in this, and Don, you may agree with me. I think Paul will vehemently disagree. I thought Ted Cruz nationally, not in his district. I think his district, he's going to look like the Antichrist in his. He's going to do really well in his district, because that's why
he wouldn't be the Antichrist.
Well, he'll be the Christ. Okay, fine. I think Ted Cruz in his district is going to get fanfare because that's why they elected him. They wanted him to be a monkey wrench in the works. But I think nationally, for a guy that has been talked about as a potential frontrunner for the Republican nomination in 2016, he's one of the names people keep throwing out there.
And I'm still not sure why. But yes,
I don't know why, but I believe that Ted Cruz nationally did a really nice job of damaging his credibility on a national level.
I'm not disagreeing with you,
Don. What do you think? Is Ted Cruz?
I want people to make another note that all three of us just agreed, because Paul said he wouldn't disagree with you, and I'm going to agree with Paul that I won't disagree with you on this. He damaged himself as far as the potential that I think the man could have had if he would have played his cards a little different. But what he did is what a lot of these people have been doing, and anybody that's had the misfortune of hearing me before on this program or the one I did for Coffee Party there for almost a year, I called them the 22 percenters, because I kept picking this number up out of polls to whatever the most extreme angle was on an issue, there was always this 22% or this difference of 22%. Those are the people that are locked in with Cruz, and it doesn't matter what this guy says or does, they are going to hang in there with him. The danger that I see with that, and I might be jumping ahead of what where you want to go with this, is that if this gentleman becomes a candidate and goes third party, then the GOP, the moderates and the conservatives and the right, not the neo-Confederate kamikaze right, but the normal right, are going to suffer in the elections, or in the presidential election. They're just going to hand it to the Democrats again, no matter who's running, Hillary or Joe Biden or whatever, because they'll go in with 45% of the vote and win because of this third-party guy. I think what if, and maybe I'm seeing something here that isn't there, but tell me your thoughts here. Is it just me, or has all of a sudden over the last few months, as the surge of Ted Cruz with all these mics in front of him, the camera in his mug all the time now, with his 22-hour
Filibuster
there, yeah. All of a sudden, Rand Paul starts kind of, literally moving a little bit more towards center. Not a lot, but enough to where, I hear people going, yeah, Rand Paul, he's not that wacky. Now, there's some people that think that Rand Paul might be the go-to guy for the Republicans to get a little bit of that base, okay? Like I said, here's your neo-Confederate kamikazes all the way over here against as far as you can go right before you start going left.
Sure.
And then you start coming back towards center. Well, now Rand Paul, in my book, is more towards that center. And I think the GOP can I think they'll be looking at him actually to be a candidate.
No, don't mean to interrupt. He doesn't know how to answer the phone, so bring the caller right on. We have a caller coming
Go ahead,
through. But yeah, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mr. C from Bremerton.
What's up, Mr. C? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, pretty good.
Will you turn your computer down in the background just a little bit? We're getting a little double talk there.
There you go.
Thanks, man. What's going on? What's on your mind?
Well, we're talking about the politicians and the fallout of what's going on, and here's kind of my take on it. The public generally has a very short-term memory on issues and problems. NSA is now in the back burner. The embassy is in the back burner and everything like that. And so as long as they direct or can control where the attention of the public goes, then they can pretty much steer the public opinion.
Wait, when you said the embassy, you referring to the 4 Americans brutally murdered under Hillary Clinton's watch in Benghazi?
Oh, nice.
Correct.
Okay, just checking.
Nice injection there. God, we were going too smooth.
We were, yeah. Let me ask a question though. One of the points that Don's made is very important, I think, and I want to get your opinion, Mr. C, which is if we see a third party guy come out of this ultra conservative end of the right, and in the next hour, in about 15 minutes, we're going to speak with Frank Aquila, who wrote Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere. He was one of the guys that was instrumental in the background of getting Sarah Palin the vice presidential ticket under John McCain back in the first election against Obama, or the first election with Obama. If we see a third party candidate, whether it be Rand Paul, whether it be Ted Cruz, whether it be Sarah Palin, who's continually rumored to be pondering a run, it's got. Let me switch gears. Doesn't the Republican Party feel like it's trying to be a local party instead of a national party? In the sense that they've got no effort going forward in national elections. All they're doing is trying to win seats in the House that give them a foothold in government, but they're not platformed in a way that would make them attractive to independent voters on a national level.
Well, they don't have to worry about it until you get within 1 year or 9 months of the election, because, again, the public has short-term memory, and issues or problems people are going to ignore until the absolute last point.
No, fair enough. Yeah,
Mr. C, though, don't you think that I understand what you're saying about short-term memory and whatnot, but this is also the age of the instant soundbite. Bam, you said it. It's all over the internet now and on TV and whatnot. So we saw the use of video coming back to haunt many candidates in the last few election cycles.
What difference does it make?
Well, don't you think that short-term memory people are going to be reminded as we get closer to elections of what certain people have said in the past, whether they be right, left, down the middle, or from outer space?
It's going to turn into a mudslinging contest,
right?
Because everybody's going to bring all that to the front plate, and it's going to confuse everybody, and then so you pretty much everybody's going to be muddled, befuddled, or really don't care at the very end, and then they're going to do what the typical person votes, and that's the lesser of the evils. Not for an actual candidate, but the actual lesser of the evil.
Or they do worse, they stay home and sit on their hands.
That's the other outcome that's possible.
They get fed up with the system and they just say, the hell with it, it's all rigged, I'm not going to vote.
Mr. C, can I ask you a question? Oh, sorry, go ahead and answer.
Go ahead.
As somebody, now you're a federal employee, if I understand correctly?
Correct.
How did you feel? I mean, who were you most upset with during the government shutdown? Was it just government as a whole? Was it Republicans, Tea Party Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, the president? I mean, how did your personal feelings, where did your personal feelings lead you on that?
We had a failure of our elected representatives on upholding the Constitution that they took an oath to and doing their job as it's spelled out to them that they voluntarily took. Nobody had a gun to their head forcing them to become an elected official.
Sure. So all of them?
Okay. Because how long have we been going without a budget and they've just been kicking the can down the road?
Yeah, 4 years.
Sure.
Now we just kicked it down the driveway.
Right.
So they still haven't done their job. All they did was try to put a patch on a tire that's deflating again.
Right. I actually, that's a great analogy.
Yeah. And listen, I won't speak for Mr. C, but I'm a federal employee as well. And I would have almost have rather been out of work for another week and had them actually fix a budget. Instead of this idea that, well, we're going to come back and handle it here in a couple of months. It just, I listened to Nancy Pelosi this morning making the rounds on Sunday morning TV, and she said, well, we're going to work really hard to have a budget in place by Thanksgiving. And all I could think to myself is Nancy Pelosi is purely, she's got to be on something, it's peyote or something, because to believe that they're going to have a budget in place without even waiting until the last minute is laughable, given the last 4 years of the House and the Senate and the way that they've acted like children.
Yes, because there is no accountability to them, to the people. There is no oversight that says, hey, there's a commission oversight. You failed to perform your job as you took voluntarily. You're out. You didn't do it. You didn't, because anybody else in any other job, if you did this, if you owned the business, you'd be out of business. If you're working for somebody else, you wouldn't be working anymore. But they have this like rubber stamp that says, well, we know better. I mean, it irks me every time the politician comes around and they solicit your votes and they say, you're a very intelligent voter. I expect you, I'm the best candidate, blah, 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 and I'll represent you. And then the person gets in, and then all of a sudden the people that voted for him went stupid. Well, you need me to interpret all this stuff for you and to do the work for you, so don't worry about it. I'll take care of you. And that's where we're at now. They're taking care of us.
Well, when you say that they get elected by the people to serve us and then they get in there and they don't do it, who are they serving? Who do you think they are serving?
The parties.
This is a serious question. Well, the parties, but I mean...
Well, but can I interrupt the question really quick, though? Because
I wanted to kind of get his thought on, just the parties, serving the parties.
Okay.
So the parties are serving who? They're not serving the people, evidently, because the representatives and the senators and whatnot, the elected officials, aren't serving the people. So therefore, if they're serving the parties, who are the parties serving for? Who are they going to bat for?
The party is going for its survival period, what it takes for them to maintain power.
But what do they want the power for?
A lot of them are rich, they have money, so it's not a money issue. So it's control and power just over other people, making decisions that affect other people without accountability.
But would you agree that the majority of people that are rich want to be richer? Well,
there's that stigma that's always there. I mean, look at Patty Murray, our senator that came in, the mom in tennis shoes, a poor person that the people fronted up, and then all of a sudden now has quite a bit of money.
But I'm saying in general, not just Patty Murray, but I mean lots of people that are well-to-do, they got there for a reason, whether it be a nefarious one or legitimate. That's how they got their wealth. And don't most people that are wealthy, I've never heard a very extremely wealthy person say, for the most part, hey, I want to have less money, or I just want to tread water. I got to do whatever I got to do just to stay even. They want to still want to make money.
Okay, so here's my main thing: is you have you have politicians that are in place, and a lot of these people have titles. Okay, they're doctors, they are attorneys. These are titles, and they change from England, where you would call a esquire, being a lawyer, attorney. Okay. To a lawyer. Why? Because now esquire is not a title, but you're doing the same damn thing. So they just changed it for the convenience, so they wouldn't be, so they could get into the office instead of not.
You know, and hundreds of years ago, or hundreds and some years ago, lawyers, blacksmiths, the guy that ran the general store, whatever, those were the people that were going to serve the rest of the people, the citizens of the country. They'd put in their time, and then they'd go back to the job they had before. Do you think we should get back to something like that and get away from the career politician thing?
Career politicians, the problem that we go to fight to get them out is when they bring the money home, because the Fed likes to suck the money up and then they dole it out, and that's how they buy themselves continuity in the position.
Well, I think there's some things. We're coming up on a break, aren't we?
Well, we are.
Yeah, I'd like to have the discussion with him sometime at more length, but there's some nuggets in there that I can agree with, but I also am trying to get a point out here too. But I can wait till after the break.
Well, and let me say this, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, and Paul's actually probably going to agree with this. I don't agree with the Tea Party agenda at all. As I said on my Facebook page, and Paul took umbrage with this, I think they're uneducated. I think they're very smart, but I think in the ways that are going to be best for this country, I don't think that they're very bright on that. But I will say this. I think if you were going to find a group of elected officials who are doing their best to serve their constituents based on what they said they were going to do when they got elected, I think the Tea Party hand over fist is the most honest to what they campaigned on. Meaning, they all went to their respective people and said, we hate Obamacare, we're going to stop Obamacare, we're going to defund the government, we're going to defund Obamacare, we're going to throw a monkey wrench in the works, whatever it takes, that's what we're going to do. And the Tea Party did exactly that when they shut down the government. So are they right? I don't think so. But I think they're inherently honest with what they said they were going to do when they got elected. They're serving with the people that voted them. You know, that they're going to bat with what they told those people they were going to do when they got in there. And as stupid as I think they are, I can never hold it against anybody who does what they say they're going to do when they get elected.
Well, yeah, but a lot of those people that said that they were going to do that had no idea. They'd never been in public office before. They had no idea about the economics of the scale that they're dealing with when they're talking about shutting down the government of the United States of America, for crying out loud. And they didn't know the tsunami that was going to cause. All this horsing around with the economy since Obama has been in office, and he is no saint. I know that, no pun intended, the saint thinks that I'm a big Obama fan. I'm not. He's a big business shill also. But the thing that, you know, what we've had happen here with all this talk about we're taxed enough already, we have to save money, we got to get a budget, all these shenanigans going up to this last thing that cost the national economy about $24 billion. All the shenanigans that have gone on over the last 5 years or so has cost this country about $100 billion for nothing other than pandering and political posturing and digging feet in the sand and screaming and like little kids.
Right.
It's cost us $100 billion. And this is ridiculous. I mean, like Mr. C here says, I think that's what you call him. You know, these people were elected to serve the people, you know, of, for, and by the people. It's not, it's of the people. They're coming from the people, but they're not there serving us. They're serving big money interests that are lining their pockets. All these clowns, when they get out of office, where do they end up going as soon as they can? Because they've got like a 2-year moratorium. They start lobbying and going right back in here, and now they're doling out the money that they used to be sticking in their pocket.
Right,
you know what they need to do with all the lobbyists? They need to wear, just like race car drivers.
Exactly.
They need to wear sponsorship coats.
Well,
who's sponsoring them? So then whenever they're going up and down the hallways, everybody can see who they're working for.
Yeah, well, it's no secret. It's no secret who the lobbyists work for. You need your congressman and your.
I got to jump in. We're 3 minutes late for a break. Mr. C, thank you for calling, man. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll take a top of the hour break. We're a little bit late. That's our bad because we talk too much. That's what we get paid to do. or volunteer to do. So stick around. When we come back, we're going to have Frank Aquila. He's the author of Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere. We're going to get his thoughts. I'm going to ask him point blank if he thinks that the actions the last several weeks makes Palin more of a chance to run for president next time around. Stick around, Outlaw Radio Network.
Washington, I'm Barbara Klein. Democrats on Capitol Hill are acknowledging problems with the online health insurance markets set up by the Affordable Care Act at the start of this month. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi said today, while the rocky launch shouldn't be surprising, the problems need to be fixed.
This is unacceptable. It has to be changed. But any system that deals with that many millions of people frequently does have a glitch.
President Obama is expected to address the website problems tomorrow at the White House, and NPR's Nathan Rott reports Department of Health and Human Services is promising to do better.
In a 600-word blog post, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services acknowledged that the last few weeks have been, quote, frustrating for many Americans. There have been over 19 million visits to the department's healthcare.gov, but many of those visits saw error messages or slow loading times. Democrats and Republicans both have criticized the launch. Democrat Nancy Pelosi called it, quote, unacceptable. On Sunday, the Obama administration said they've called on the best and brightest in the public and private sector to help fix the problems. The president is expected to directly address the problems and the steps being taken to fix them in a press conference on Monday. Nathan Rott, NPR News.
Online retailers are cheering a decision by the Illinois Supreme Court that invalidates sales tax on some Internet transactions. NPR's Cheryl Corley reports that out of the 18 states that have the so-called Amazon tax, this is the first time a court has struck it down.
Illinois law had required retailers with no physical presence in the state to collect sales tax on certain Internet sales if affiliates like in-state website operators or bloggers linked consumers to the retailer's site in exchange for a cut of the sales. But the Illinois Supreme Court ruled federal law prevails, and it prohibits any discriminatory taxes on digital transactions, since the same is not required of print or television. Brick-and-mortar businesses say the ruling gives their remote-selling counterparts an advantage, and the Illinois Department of Revenue says it will continue to push Congress to pass legislation being considered that would affect how online sales taxes are collected in all states. Cheryl Corley, NPR News, Chicago.
Conflicting signals today in diplomatic efforts to end Syria's civil war. The head of the Arab League says an international conference is now scheduled for November 23rd in Geneva. But the international envoy for Syria, Lakhdar Brahimi, says no official date for the long-delayed conference is set and no talks will be held without the participation of a credible opposition. Another wave of violence across Iraq today. Police say a suicide bomber drove a car laden with explosives into a cafe in Baghdad, killing at least 35 people. In western Anbar province, 5 suicide bombers attacked government buildings, killing 5 people. And in the city of Samara, another suicide bombing killed 6 members of a policeman's family. This is NPR. Louisiana officials say they're not sure why there's been a surge of oily material washing up on the coast 3 years after the BP oil spill. Eileen Fleming of member station WWNO reports the amount is 20 times more than what was found over the same period last year.
The Louisiana Department of Natural Resources says 3 million pounds of oily material have been cleaned up on the coastline over the first 8 months of this year. That's well over last year's total of about 120,000 pounds. The state says it's not sure if Tropical Storm Karen earlier this month exposed oil hidden under sand or washed more ashore. BP says testing done with the Coast Guard on some recovered tar balls showed they were not from its blown-out Macondo well. More than 200 miles of Louisiana coastline are still showing signs of oil contamination after the offshore well explosion some 3 years ago. For NPR News, I'm Eileen Fleming in New Orleans.
The average price for a gallon of gas has slipped again, but industry analyst Trilby Lundberg says the trend is coming to a halt.
Gasoline prices fell another 2 cents in the past 2 weeks, and the average is now $3.36. But in the prior 2 weeks, the drop was 14 cents, so we can see that the decline is ending.
Lundberg says most crude oil price drops have already made it through the pipeline, have been passed on to pump prices. Hurricane Raymond is heading toward Mexico's Pacific coast, threatening to dump heavy rain on the beach resorts of Acapulco, which is still recovering from last month's floods. The National Hurricane Center says Raymond could close in on Mexico late Monday or Tuesday. I'm Barbara Klein, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR.
Hey, St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to send a quick shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all of your concrete needs. They can do pathways, walkways, driveways, you name it. You need a new foundation, you're going to do an add-on, give them a call, 731-9812 or 649-0987. Again, that's 731-9812 or 649-0987. Pacific Northwest Artisans, all of your concrete needs.
Video Me Productions combines technical experience with a keen eye to produce high-quality videos. Video Me Productions is experienced, passionate, and creative. Video Me puts out high-quality videos from commercials to weddings and family gatherings to concerts and live events. Call Video Me today and find out how their video services can help you. 360-620-4888. Or visit their website to see video demos of their work at videomeproductions.com.
All right, it's the Outlaw Radio Network. Thanks for checking out the show. That's my headphones you just cranked up, buddy.
That's why.
Hey, you're not plugged in?
That's why.
Good job. Oh, you're using Trojo's headphones?
Sabotage.
He will kill you.
Oh, am I using yours?
It's all right. I want to see the look on Trojo's face when he sees Paul's using his headphones. All right, so we thank you for checking out the show. Thanks for sticking around through the first hour. We'll get back. If anybody has conversations about this whole mayoral thing we talked about in the first hour, we'll get to that in the 9 o'clock hour. So if you have anything you want to say or questions you want to call in, the phone lines will be open at 9 o'clock, and we can get back more into that.
Or if you want to identify yourself and give some testimony.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we take their deposition over there?
Take a deposition. St. Paul, the voice of reason.
K-Dog, the loose cannon.
And we're joined in studio by Klaatu, our good friend. Don, thanks for coming in, man. I wasn't going to call you by your God-given name tonight, and then Cowboy from Kingston calls and completely outs you and everything.
Be huge.
I'm surprised he didn't give you your address and social security number.
He does not have access to that, I don't think. But he's a good old boy. Him and his wife are friends of mine, great people.
Good people. All right,
he's old school. Yeah.
So we're gonna stick national for a little bit, and joining us from I guess the Bat Cave. I can't come up with a really cool nickname for where he's calling from, other than to say he's in Northern California somewhere, probably enjoying much nicer weather than we are up here. Frank Aquila joins us on the line, author of Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere and a frequent guest on the show. Frank, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
We're alive and kicking.
We're doing well. Which
is better than I can say for the Tea Party at this moment, I think.
Well, I think the Tea Party is still making a big influence in the national scene, and I think that's a wonderful thing for America, actually.
They definitely made a big impact on the national scene. Yes, I agree with you on that one.
And we're gonna
my bank account.
We're gonna talk about a whole bunch of stuff with Frank while we've got him on tonight, and I want to start first off, Frank, with the results of what we've seen from the 16-day federal shutdown, and we talked in the last segment about the Tea Party and House Republicans and the whole process. Give us an idea where you stand with the whole shutdown and the resolution. Some people feel like House Republicans, specifically the Tea Party, really railroaded the country, and other people feel like they're doing a Patriots job.
Well, I think it's more on the Patriots side is where I stand. I think basically when you look at where our national government is, we are unsustainable of where we are heading as a nation. Things are getting entirely worse every day. You could go to the website usdebtclock.org, and you could go up there and you could see how much of the national debt every American citizen and every taxpayer owes on that national debt right now. You can see that national debt has now gone over $17 trillion. And to get an idea of how much $17 trillion is, I'll just state this. If I were to give you $1 million a day of every week, of every month, of every year, it would take 2,740 years before you'd come up back for the second trillion. So if I gave you $1 million a day, that's 46,580 years before we'd reach $17 trillion, not including interest, not including the unsustainable, unfunded liabilities of $100 trillion plus that's actually going in towards Social Security and Medicare, and now that Obamacare is taking 1/6 of our national budget. So if things don't get fixed, and that's what the Tea Party is trying to point out. Right now, we are in an unsustainable. We have this monstrosity of government power, and and I'll just go to this, even this aspect. If Obamacare is so good to be placed on the peasants, how come the king and the king's men, they don't have to have Obamacare? And that's why I really wish the Republican Party really would have took this battle, is because people are losing their medical coverage. It's hit me with my own family. And here, the people that say to the peasants out there that, hey, Obamacare is going to be good for you, they have exempt themselves. So the Republican Party really should be attacking and say, you know what, if it's so good, Obama himself and all Congress and everybody that's in power, they should be on Obamacare as well.
Well, Frank, hold on. That's a very good point. In fact, as of October 1st, the beginning of the new fiscal year, 171,000 veterans were kicked off the government doles. Their VA benefits and VA health care was canceled. You're aware of this, and they're being told to basically go on Obamacare. Now, those are veterans that fought and died for their country, or well, not in this case, but bled for their country, whatever. They gave their time, their soul, and now what they signed up for, they're not allowed to have. So, yeah, I think you made some very valid points. How do we, in your opinion, how do we go about? What kind of steps do we take to remedy some of this?
Well, yeah, you got to look at the whole idea of the Tea Party. Again, T stands for taxed enough already. You got to realize the government just keeps wanting to get bigger. The regulations just get more. Basically, when you look at the Tea Party in general, I'd say the government in general, businesses are basically being squeezed. That's what Obamacare really does. You have Obamacare. What it does is it creates what I believe 10,000 IRS agents. How come Obamacare couldn't create 10,000 new doctors? You know, why is Obamacare creating all these federal agents to enforce these laws? And so what you need to do is you need to cut government, not expand government. And the whole idea of the success of America compared to other nations has been government, get out of the way, we the people, and liberty and independence. And we don't have liberty and independence. We have basically government that's gone out of control, that government that's going to be the nanny state, that's going to control everybody, and everybody's going to get a free meal ticket. And that's not what America was created on. We want to help those people that need help, but you know what? Now we're basically making a society of people that are dependent on the government for anything and everything, and everybody wants a free handout for it.
Okay,
where are we going to cut government? I mean, you got a lot of talking points there.
Oh, there is so much to cut in the government. Number one,
give me your biggest
EPA, and you make a team for the Environmental Protection Agency. You make a team that's there for protecting the government, but you don't need to have thousands upon thousands employees.
Protecting
you don't
the
need to have, for example, the Department of Education. For example, that's another. Why does the government need to be controlling all the states? What needs to be done is you need to have national standards, but you don't need to have a Department of Education. You allow the states to control their own education systems. So, in government waste, I was just looking up government waste before I got online. Do you know that our government spent $680,000 on a study of our Air Force, how the men in uniform look more masculine? Are you serious? We're spending that much money? I mean, there's these stupid things that are pork in all these bills that are being put out there. They spent $300,000 on the study of birds to figure out what the first bird in existence, if it was a blackbird or not. I mean, there's just idiotic. I remember doing a study back. There was $2 million that was spent on the study of robotic bees. The government's just out of control, and here in California, we're spending billions upon billions of dollars on a train that nobody's going to use, and it's just idiotic. There's a lot of people that are in government that are basically funneling stuff to their friends. You go on back to Obama. He's giving money to Islamic nations to refurbishing foreign mosques. He's given money to the Taliban in Pakistan, 1.8 million. He is giving money to the Muslim Brotherhood, which is tied to Al Qaeda. Are we an idiotic nation, or what are we? Why are we spending? So when you talk about government waste, you don't have to go very far from the cookie jar to find all the cookies just scrambled all over the place. It's ties for everybody and anybody that has government ties with all their friends out there, and we are wasting ourselves. And pretty soon it's going to be to a point where, you know what, USA is the number one nation in the world. Our dollar is the standard for money throughout the world, and yet our dollar is becoming worthless as a nation with all this debt, and it's getting worse. At what point do you say, okay, enough is enough? Does it have to be 25 trillion national debt, 30 trillion, 100 trillion? At some point, we will fall as a nation if we don't get this under control.
Let me jump in with something really quick. And again, Frank and I are polar opposites on a lot of political ideology, but I love the guy because he's honest about how he feels and he puts it out there. But let me counteract a couple of things you said earlier. First, let's go back to the exemption in regards to Congress. Sure. Congress, as I understand it, and the research that I've done, and this is, you probably have done more research on this than I have, but Congress would be exempt anyway, if only because the only people who need Obamacare are the people who don't already have private health insurance and don't have an employer contributing a portion of the cost of the proceeds for health insurance. So Congress would never go on to Obamacare because they're already employer-provided health insurance. So the argument that Congress is somehow exempt, I think, is a great, and again, I love you, Frank, but it's a great talking point, but it's misleading in the fact that they wouldn't even need Obamacare in the first place.
Well, I think the fact that they actually put out there that they would be exempt from the Obamacare program, I think, is in itself. I think basically they were going to say that Obamacare is so good. Well, you know what? Put in a bill that, you know what, that's their healthcare program. They have to be on Obamacare. I'm tired of these elitists thinking that they are grand kings and that we're the peasants and we have to do what they want us to do. Now, I'll just say it like this. I have my father. My father is a retired union man, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, my father is retired, and my mother actually works at Staples. Now, my mother's been working at Staples. She works there, and she's getting a little bit extra income. My parents are elderly.
Right.
With that, my father's insurance has just come up and told him that they're going to drop my mother from the insurance if she doesn't quit Staples, because therefore she would have to get on Staples, whatever program they would have over there. So basically, because of Obamacare, my mother has to quit her job.
But hold on, hold on. Let me.
That's one example. Another example is I had my girlfriend. She was actually working. She's getting a job. She got a job at a supermarket. They hired her for the 90-day grace period, but basically there's no health care provided. But basically on the 89th day, they told her and a whole bunch of other people that were hired that they lost their job. A friend of mine also had been working 40 hours a week. What did the company do? They went ahead and cut him back to 29 hours a week because they don't want to pay his health insurance. A program that's set up, such as Obamacare, that's supposed to be beneficial for the people per se, is not beneficial for the people. These people are actually losing hours, or they're losing health care, and everybody's being forced onto a government program, and that's not beneficial to the people.
Well, and listen, and I don't know. if the decision with your mom's health care through where she's employed through Target, and I worked for Target for a while, so she has my deepest
No, it wasn't
condolences.
Target, it was Staples.
Staples. I mean, I worked for Staples for a while, and she has my deepest condolences. That's a personal slam of me against Staples. But is it an Obamacare requirement, or is this the insurance company that your dad is on basically using this as an opportunity to try to save themselves some money? Because now they can say, well, hey, she's got a job. She's got to get her own insurance. We don't have to cover her now. Is it a requirement from Obamacare?
My father's insurance situation with his union.
Right.
I do know that it is a union, and I do know from my study there's approximately 315 unions that have also been exempted. Obviously, not all unions have been exempted, and I know there's several unions out there that are crying wolf about this as well because it's costing them. I'm in a union. I'm in a peace officers union, and I have seen my medical insurance jump up as well. Matter of fact, I was with HealthNet. I had to go to Kaiser to save myself about $150, and then I find out on January 1st it's going to jump up another 18% is going to jump up on my insurance. So
that gets back to the question.
It's hitting people. I mean, I know since it's hitting me. I mean, I'm listening to stories of other people. I mean, other people are getting hit worse. I mean, for Obama to sit there and tell people that it's not going to cost them anything, there might be some examples of people that benefited from this. For example, you have people that have children that are out of high school and into college, and all of a sudden they get to be on the medical insurance. So there's people that benefited maybe that way. But, those people probably wouldn't need medical insurance to begin with, or maybe not desire medical insurance. So then, therefore, you could have people out there that if they don't get the medical insurance, well, now the IRS is going to come after them because Obama told us it's not a tax, but then they argued it was a tax without saying it was a tax in front of the Supreme Court. And then John Roberts basically did Obama a favor by rewriting the statute as a tax. So, now we have Obamacare as a tax, and the first ever kind of tax on America that we had to actually buy something. So we have to buy health insurance. It's becoming a huge problem, and this whole thing's going to fail, and it's basically going to create a huge problem for America to go along with it.
Well, where do you want people with no insurance to go when they get sick or they get severely injured?
I'm so glad you asked that question.
But could you give me like the
what
Reader's
should we be
Digest
doing
answer?
as insurance? What we need to do is we need to get rid of all the regulations that are out there. That tie. Like I'm in California, and there should not be somebody going say, hey, I'm going to go to another state and they'd be penalized if they try to get insurance from another state. The insurance, in my opinion, should be set up kind of like car insurance, where basically whatever type insurance that you want. For example, if you drive a car, you have to have basic liability. That'd be the cheapest type of insurance. That you basically are liable for the other driver. And what they got to do is allow you to buy your insurance based on what your needs are throughout any state. That would go ahead and basically create competition between state lines and allow people to purchase those insurance as if it's car insurance. So you're getting the coverage. You could get the cheapest type of coverage there is, kind of like liability, maybe emergency hospital visits. Or if you want to go ahead and you want to get some sort of expensive Cadillac plan, you could get that too. You could become insurance rich or you could become insurance poor. But at least you would have the options of going through different companies, through different states, to actually purchase a plan that fits your lifestyle or your family. And I think competition is what we need to do in the private sector, and that's what the government takes away. It takes away the competition in the private sector, and it says the government's going to be in control of everything.
Can I ask you that question again now? What do you do with somebody that does not have insurance and they are severely injured and have to get medical treatment?
First off, the way the law is right now, if someone's severely injured, they're going to go to the hospital.
Well, in your perfect world,
anyway.
what do you do with somebody with no insurance that gets injured?
You take them to the hospital. You go
Who
ahead.
pays for it?
They can't be denied medical coverage or medical treatment at the hospital.
Okay, who pays for it then?
The taxpayers are paying for it.
Okay.
And that's a good point. in the
Yeah, it is.
whole
It's a
realm
good
of
argument for
everything,
universal health.
where you have the
healthcare. Thanks
very
for making
few
it.
of the people that are out there, the very few people that don't have health insurance, that go ahead and now everybody else has to pay for it in the premiums and everything like that. Why should 90% of the people that have insurance be penalized because of the 10% that don't or don't want it?
Hey, Frank, let me make an interesting point with regards to Don's question here. First of all, Don, taxpayers are already footing the bill, and under Obamacare, you're still footing the bill, okay, because you have a great portion of taxpayers that are getting subsidized health care. Nothing actually there has changed. Nothing. There's nothing changed. Pro, con, whether it works, doesn't work, whether it goes through, doesn't go through,
Well-
it's already the law. No, hold on. I gave you, okay. So none of that changes whatsoever. Okay, the one thing that a lot of people seem to forget or gloss over or don't want to talk about, because they like to bring up that when conservatives like Frank or myself are talking about this, they're like, well, you know, your guy Mitt Romney, he developed all of this. This is based on his plan, right? Here's the problem with that argument. That's at a state level, not at a federal level. When you use the Commerce Clause to force Americans to buy a particular product, which they're doing here, and let's get back to one thing. You made the comment that it was, you know, socialized or nationalized medicine. I get that argument. The problem is that's not what's happening here. What you're doing is you're socializing insurance, not the healthcare system. Okay? Let's be very clear about the difference
The
here.
insurance companies love it. They're the ones.
No,
that
the
are
insurance
profiting.
companies don't love it.
Oh, yeah, they do.
No, many.
Look at, they're having millions of people driven to them.
Don, that's a disingenuous lie or
No, it's
misstatement,
not.
whatever
It's
you
not
want.
a lie,
Because
and it's
many
not
insurance
disingenuous.
many insurance companies are choosing to drop out of the exchanges nationwide in different states based on where they already do business. Frank, is that not true?
This is true.
It's absolutely
you know,
true.
it gets, it's like I said, it gets worse when you
want
have
no
the government
regulation.
now.
You said the first
They
thing you
take
wanna do away with is
control,
the EPA
and
'cause
you know
it
the
protects
ultimate
government.
goal. In fact, some Democrats have gone on the record stating this. Their ultimate goal is to make a single payer health care system through the government.
Correct.
And when you have, you know, there's statistics out there. People who look it up. When there's a poll of 83% of the doctors out there that want to get out of their practice, that's very scary. Again, going back to one of the points I've tried to make, who's going to go ahead and take care of all these people? If everybody's going to have insurance and everybody's premiums now have gone up, so it's going to be more difficult to get a doctor appointment because there's fewer doctors that want to go ahead and be dealing with the government, and the government has control of all your medical records to go along with it. It becomes a huge problem. And so I'm glad that, you know, coming back to your main question right when I got on the air, I'm glad the Tea Party took this aspect to go, because you know what, as more and more people find out about this, and more and more people find out about the debt, you know, people, they don't want to be intruded by the government. They don't want the government to go ahead and take all their money, or the government to collapse because they've taken on this monstrosity. And you know, once it hits home, and once we all of a sudden our social security checks will not be in the mail because the government doesn't have any money at some point, and people are basically trapped to survive on their own. That's, like I said, what point does it happen? At 25 trillion, 100 trillion, 200 trillion? Well, we've just been nearly, before Obama leaves office, we will double the national debt in 8 years. We will have spent more on the national debt in 8 years than what it took from George Washington to President Bush. So basically, 250 years of America will have equaled what Obama will have done to our national debt.
All right, so do me a favor. Hold that thought for a second. We're going to take a break really quick. We'll do our bottom of the hour break, and we'll come back with Frank Aquila, author of Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere. We're going to continue this discussion. I've got some questions. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to go. Frank, sometimes when you're on the show, I feel like we could literally spend like 3 days straight because there's so much stuff to go over. But stick around. You mind sticking through the break with us?
Oh, that's fine. I'd be more than glad.
All right, awesome. Okay, Frank Aquila, author of Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere. We'll continue the discussion. Stick around. St. Paul, the voice of reason. Klaatu. Are you not ready for the break? You're not ready for the break? Should we skip the break, or are you going to be a little... You want to skip the break? Okay, we'll skip the break. Frank, no break for you.
Okay.
Let me ask this question really quick, because earlier you talked about, you know, allowing people to broker across state lines in insurance. Can you do that and still follow Romney's original idea of letting it be a state You know what I mean? I mean, can it be state regulated when you're letting people?
I'm totally against any kind of government get involved in anything. But remember what was so great about the framers of the Constitution when they created, let's say, states. States had the option; they could go ahead and do whatever they wanted to do, and basically, if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't. But it didn't affect every other state. So then one state basically had to go ahead and deal with it or clean up its own mess.
Right.
So whatever happened in Massachusetts, which I can't say I'm up to date on what Romney's plan was over there in Massachusetts. It was a state issue, and that's what the framers set up. It wasn't a national issue, and so basically what happens in California does not affect what happens in Kansas or what happens in Washington. You know, basically you have one state government, but you have 50 states governments under the whole realm of the United States government. And you know, hey, we did fine with all this taxation for a couple hundred years, and now in this last 50 years or so, I mean, we just gotten so big with government, and that people just feel like they need to go ahead and have this nanny state taking care of them, and that's not where we need to be.
Yeah, but see, I know that you and Paul are both going to railroad me on this, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but at some point, doesn't the idea of states' rights defeat greater goods in the sense that we've seen states' rights in regards to gay marriage. We've seen states' rights in regards to abortion. We've seen states' rights in, how all these, not that they've applied because abortion, it's federal, but we've seen all these groups come up and say, well, we want the states' rights to apply. But the state right would be so different from state to state that aren't we, God, maybe I'm naive, but aren't we one country and the laws should be the same? How is it legal to go into Washington State, be recognized as a gay married couple, go to Idaho, and you're not recognized, and if they don't want you to see your spouse in the hospital, screw you, you're not going in? Doesn't that defeat the purpose of being one nation, one group of people? Where do we draw the line in that?
Well, obviously there's different issues that are difficult to address. As you know, Kevin, I'm a person that I believe in the sanctity of marriage.
Sure.
So therefore, I watched this evolution of of marriage being drawn from the gay marriage that obviously I'm against. I mean, I know that you are in support of it. But I mean, you got to recognize, for example, state rights. I mean, you got some states that have the death penalty. You have some states that don't. In my opinion, you know what? In regards to abortion, that should not have been a federal thing done. It should have been done a state thing. If somebody wanted to go to another state and have an abortion because one state allowed it, well, then that should have been a state issue, not a federal issue. I think that's basically what the Supreme Court, the way they're looking at it, with when Proposition 8 went before them. I'm against it, but in the one sense that they didn't want to address it as a federal issue, they sent it back to the state, and the state has to deal with it. So basically, if you want to be perform a gay marriage, and you want to be in that particular state, then then recognize the states that recognize you. I mean, obviously there are a few more that are being recognized, but I think basically you have to look at each state has the right. Why should 40 other states be forced to recognize something that they don't agree with?
But Frank, doesn't that?
That's where that's where the states have to have those individual rights per se on any particular issue. The government should not be involved in it.
And I'm sorry, I know that Don's got a quote, but Frank, isn't that defeatist in the sense that if we followed that idea in the '60s during civil rights, then theoretically, wouldn't you have had states where blacks were given equal rights, able to vote, do everything that a normal white guy could do, and then you might go to Louisiana or Alabama and you would find segregation in full effect, blacks sitting in certain spots on the bus, not able to use the same drinking fountains? I mean, isn't that? And I'm picking something that's
you're talking about individual rights of humanity. Okay, you're talking about women's rights, black rights, and basically when you had the Dixiecrats that are out there and they were trying to have slavery, and you had as well, you had Abraham Lincoln recognizing that America was being divided into two nations, one as a nation of slavery and another a nation of freedom with the Confederate States of America and the United States of America. That's when the Civil War started. But so that's there is not, you cannot equal gay rights with civil rights of individuals. As I state, gay, being gay or having a gay marriage, that's a person's choice. But being a woman or being a black or other minority, that is not a choice. And basically everybody under the Constitution is created equal, and they should have equal rights in those one sense. Basically, as a Christian myself, if you go and you take a religious ceremony per se, a religious ceremony, and then that I believe as a Christian, what's my rights of wanting marriage between a man and a woman, and then I got the state saying, well, you could have two gays. I'll give you another good example here in California. You got Assembly Bill 1266. You can look it up if you like. This Assembly Bill was put together by State Senator Mark Leno and Assemblyman Tom Amiato, both of San Francisco. Through the California legislature, it was passed. It was signed by all the Democrats, and Jerry Brown signed it. This bill allows a transgender that's anywhere from kindergarten through 12th grade. Okay? So you have this transgender, basically they say less than 1% of the population that's being a transgender goes to school. This bill allows the transgender, let's say in high school, a male decides, I'm not a male. I feel like I'm a female. He is then allowed to go into not only the women's restroom, but he's allowed to go into the women's locker room. He's allowed to go and shower while the women are showering. Okay, girls are showering. Your teenage daughter, 15 years old, is taking a shower. All of a sudden, this man or this boy that's 16, 17, 18 years old in high school is all of a sudden with his privates sitting right out, showering right next to your teenage daughter. Mm-hmm. This is how crazy, how idiotic. This law is being petitioned right now. By the end of the month, hopefully we'll have 900,000 signatures to put it back and repeal this law. But this is where the Democrats are trying to take. When you go ahead and you get yourself a little bit and you want a little bit more, all of a sudden you got idiocy that's out there. You have girls or boys that want to go ahead and they say, hey, I feel like I'm Ramona. I want to be on the girls' basketball team. I'm not Ramon. I want to be on the basketball team. It is now legal. What point is one person's rights overstep the boundaries with another person? And that's where it's idiotic.
No, and I'll tell you, I agree with you that there has to be common sense in the application of some of this stuff, and in a lot of this there hasn't been. I just don't know. See, I know you got a question too, Don. I just don't know. I equate the civil rights of this whole thing to be exactly the same. There's.
And you said this key word was civil. Let me just point out, because Kevin, I know you brought this issue up. Remember when basically the homosexuals are coming out and they said they wanted a civil union? I don't have no problem with a civil union. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, I think all states have a civil union out there that recognizes gay couples having a civil union. But why do they have to elevate it to the definition of marriage? Because marriage, in my opinion, is a religious ceremony, and you're taking it a little bit too far.
But Frank, hold on though. And listen, again, I utmost respect for you, but marriage is not a religious ceremony in this country anymore. We allow atheists to get married. We allow Muslims to get married. We allow pagans to get married. We allow anybody to get married in this country that wants to get married. It's not a Christian religious ceremony anymore. If marriage was applied only if you were a Christian or in a church or synagogue, then I would be totally cool with, let's say, okay, well then fine. If you're gay and lesbian, you don't need to be married. You can have a civil service. But when we allow atheists and pagans and druids and tree worshipers or whatever, anybody in this country to get married, there is no religious significance to marriage anymore. And for that matter, too, heterosexuals have done a wonderful job of screwing up marriage because the divorce rate among heterosexual couples is better than 50%. We don't have a doctrine on telling.
I disagree with that part.
Yeah.
There. It is become very much a society that we have a society where where the divorce rate is high, and that's very unfortunate where we are as a society, and I think that's a huge problem right there. Yeah, you're right.
But I'm just saying. I mean, I totally listen. I'm a Christian too. Although I'm accepting of the alternate ends of that. But I just think if you use the religious argument in regards to gay and lesbian marriage, I think it loses all credibility because we've never enforced it with people who aren't religious. So we're allowing the benefits and the rights to go with atheists or whatever. How do we deny marriage? And why is
definitely it is being, people don't have to be religious to get married. But again, the part that I'm talking about is of a man and a woman.
Right.
That part is a definition of marriage that was created in the Bible by God. God created marriage. So when you basically dilute that part of it, and I mean, I'm sure you guys didn't want to get into, this part. It's like the whole thing was basically you go from the civil union, and now we're going to marriage. I mean, you always keep taking it one step further, and now we go from the marriage, and then we got the transgenders that want to go ahead and a transgender male going to the female showers. I mean, you're taking. At what point do you stop and say, "Hey, enough is enough"? We're pushing this political correctness, pushing this envelope a little bit too far, and that's the point I was trying to make.
All right, Don, did you have a question that you were going to pose to Frank?
He had 47 of them.
Yeah, I had a lot of them going through my head as he was speaking, but then we got down the religious path and gays and whatnot.
I'm here in your corner, brother.
I
Not yours. I'm talking to.
I know that, and I'm like, well, why does he need somebody in his corner? It sounds like he knows how to take the microphone. Anyway, what I wanted to get back to was your comments, a few of them about government. And number one, it seems that you're heavy on states' rights. Am I right?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. So if I remember right, back here about 15, 20 minutes ago.
I kind of feel like this is a gotcha question, but go ahead.
No, it's just a question that I'm looking for an answer. I mean, I asked you one earlier,
no problem.
I didn't get one. We got a 15-minute speech about
Don,
something
be
else.
nice.
Well,
Play nice in the
I just,
pool.
people want answers. I mean, we had a monologue here. I asked you about what part of government would you do away with first, and you said the EPA because all they're doing is protecting government. And I want to know, I mean, seriously, the Environmental Protection Agency is protecting government. How so? Because of regulations? You want to have no regulations?
Off, I did not say that the EPA is protecting government. I said what I would do when I talked about where would I eliminate stuff.
Yeah, okay, and you said EPA first.
I would eliminate major parts of the EPA. I would have
can you be specific, though? What do you want to eliminate about the EPA?
Good. It's good to protect the environment. But I think basically this monstrosity of government employees out there that are involved in every aspect of everybody's life, I think that's just a little bit too far. I think basically having some standards in place.
Some standards.
I don't think the government needs to go ahead and be involved in every single aspect, and I think that's where you could cut a lot of these government agents.
Okay, so
when you say are out there that are involved in so many different things that don't need to be involved in. And so I think we cut 90% of the EPA out, I think, and had a team that's there for example, spills that take place.
Okay.
Let's say an oil spill. Okay, then they're out there, and that team would be out there working. But you don't have to have so much involvement in the government on every single level. And I think that's what we have, what we've done.
Okay, how about the FAA? You want to do away with 90% of what they do?
No, I didn't say that.
No, I'm just asking because you said 90% of the EPA. So, do you think that the children you were talking about at school with the transgender in the shower, should they be able to drink clean water and breathe clean air?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that much you would allow the EPA to do to set out regulations on air pollution and water pollution.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that
so you're not one of these that wants
water
to
standards. We want to have clean water. We want to have clean air.
Right.
That is good.
Okay, so you're not one of these that wants to lift all kinds of regulations so corporations can dump their crap in the creeks and run smokestacks.
No. I mean, basically, the corporations should not be dumping their crap in the creeks. I'm not in that category. No.
Okay, so we do need a little bit of the EPA. And my other question, and I had
that's
many,
what I said, a little bit. I said 10%.
Okay, well, I don't know that 10% could handle all that, but that's good. At least you gave me a number. One other question out of many that I have, but in your perfect world with a very, very limited government, where and you're saying that we're getting taxed, left, right, and down the middle. How do you propose to get revenue to run what's left of the government?
Well, you have enough taxes that are out there already. When you start cutting the government, you will actually limit what the government spends, and therefore the government actually could have a surplus, and instead of being in deficit every single year. I mean, I gave you a ton of examples about government waste that's out there. We have to eliminate the government waste. In regards to Obamacare, here the government's taking on 1/6 of the health care programs that are out there. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, all these government studies, all these court projects that are out there, that's where you have to start cutting. That's where you have to have common sense. And you look at the common sense that's out there of all these programs, these studies, the Congress kickbacks. This is where we really have to take a good look. Also, for another good example is where do we get revenue? I have tried to make the point several times. I write about this in my book. Right now, we have more oil here in America. More oil here in America than all the Middle East combined. If you look at just the Colorado Rockies, the shell of the Colorado Rockies, there's 8 times more oil in the Colorado Rockies than the whole country of Saudi Arabia. If you go and you start extracting oil, instead of importing oil, we actually put to the point where exporting oil onto the world market. You could actually start putting it out there where you are driving down the national debt and bringing more revenue into the government and more revenue for people. You could by extracting the oil and having it in America, and you allow oil prices to drop. Therefore, because you have dropped the oil prices, more people have more money in their pocket. Businesses have more money. You start expanding private businesses. People are having less money to spend on gasoline. It drives the economy in another direction. What has our government done? Through such agencies, EPA example, and Obama, they are doing everything they can to control the amount of oil that we have here in America, and that's basically hurting America in general. So I mean, it all depends how you want to look at it, how you want to look at fudging the numbers, or how you want to go ahead and see where you cut, or where you could go ahead and make money here in America to fix that national debt.
Okay, well, first off, I think you might be wrong about the U.S. producing more oil than all the Middle East nations combined. I'm just going to put that out there.
I think he was saying producing. I think he said that we have it under.
We have so much oil. We have enough oil for the next 200 years here in America, just in the Colorado Rocky Mountains. You can go look it up. It's called the Green River Formation that goes through Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado in the Colorado Rockies. And you look that information up, the studies that show we have 8 times the amount of oil than the country of Saudi Arabia. So we want to go ahead and just look. And that's not counting Alaska. That's not counting Texas. That's not counting the Dakotas. That's not counting the oil off the Florida coast or the California coast. I'm just using one area in the United States. And so there is a ton of oil out there in America that we could become independent and drive down our national debt. And you know what? We're not doing it.
All right, so Frank, listen. We gotta wrap this. We're coming up to the end of the hour. Like I said before, I always feel like every time you come on, you and I we can go rounds for hours and days and weeks and like I said before, we don't agree on everything, but much respect to you, man. I love having you on. We got to do this more often. Can we arrange that?
Yeah, we can. Actually, that'd be fine. One thing I believe that where I try to come across is just come across with honesty and put out the facts and figures and not being politically correct, but actually just speaking from the heart. And I think basically there's too many politicians out there that they're just covering their own hide, and they want to be politically correct. They want to be liked by everybody. They want to walk both sides of the aisle. And you know what? When it comes down to it, this is America. You have great Americans that said, "Give me liberty or give me death." They stood on an issue, and it's not, hey, don't just. They're not walking, trying to be friends on both sides. They want to go ahead and they want what's best for America. They want what's best for their family and their future. And we've become a society that's just basically just protecting our own hide instead of what's best for America, and that's where it's disgusting with the politicians where they brought us.
Hey, tell everybody how they can find Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere, man. You're still getting great reviews on that. Tell people how they can pick the book up.
You know what? Since Sarah Palin's still in the news, actually, for some reason, the sales kind of picked up a little bit in the last couple of months. And they could go to my website. It's sarahpalinoutofnowhere.com. And that's the name of the book. You can go on Amazon. You can purchase the book on Amazon, or you can go on Amazon. Also, it has the Kindle form. You could get Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere. I always recommend, if you get the book, definitely read chapters 4 and 5. There's 6 chapters in the book. Chapter 4 is the mainstream media mafia. It compares Sarah Palin with Barack Obama, the things you didn't know about Barack Obama that the media never told you, and the lies that they said about Sarah Palin that you thought were true. And basically just puts that information right out there. And then the communist influence on America is on Chapter 5. It's just really, really a powerful book and has some great reviews. And really enjoying people contacting me about the book. So if you'd like to go ahead and get it, like you said, Amazon or at sarahpalinoutofnowhere.com.
All right, Frank, I got a real serious question here for you. It's about your book, Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere. I need to know about Chapter 7, all right? Is she?
Chapter 7. There is no Chapter 7.
I know. I'm about to ask you about it, Frank.
You know that's funny is the book took such a long time to write, and
Frank, you're killing me here. Frank,
I can't go any further than that.
Chapter 7.
Chapter 6,
Frank,
and that was it.
Frank, Chapter 7.
Basically, God made the earth in 6 days and rested on the seventh, and so I'll use God's example for what I should do as well.
Frank, God sent me an email. He's cool with Chapter 7. Is she going to run again?
You know what? That's a very interesting question. I think if she was going to do something, it would be through the U.S. Senate. And honestly, I don't think she's going to do anything. I think she's happy with the way she's with her family. She's with she's out there supporting candidates. I think she was out in New Jersey just recently supporting the U.S. candidate out there. And I think that's where her cup of tea is. She really wants to be out there talking to the people and also assistant candidates that she favors. So I think that's where she's going to stay.
Well, then there's Chapter 8.
Okay.
Frank Aquila, author of Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere. Pick up the book at sarahpalinoutofnowhere.com or head over to Amazon. And Frank, listen, man, we love having you on. We'll have you on again soon. And thanks for joining us here on the Outlaw Radio Network.
Kevin, I appreciate you staying in touch with me on Facebook as well.
I love following you, man. There's always good stuff on your posts, even though like I said, we don't agree on everything, but it's still great to read and great to be a part of it. Thanks,
everything,
man.
anything. You don't agree with
We
him
agree on
anything.
some things. We agree that this is the greatest nation under God.
Amen.
And the vets should always be taken care of.
That's good.
So
Okay.
there's two things we agree on.
Okay, 1, 2.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, we didn't get into the shutdown too much, did we?
We went off on other directions.
Hey, we'll get on another time.
There you go.
We will.
Thank you,
Thanks, Frank. All right, there goes Frank Aquila, author, Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere. Pick it up at sarahpalinoutofnowhere.com or find it on Amazon.
That went dead.
I love Don because Don's ready to go, man. He's always ready to go. I love it. Talk in the mic.
Yeah, you got your mic.
You got to talk in the mic. There you go.
And I'm gonna
used to having.
I'm gonna say this.
Not work.
I'm gonna say this for Don's benefit because I was sitting here. I was just laughing my ass off.
Were you?
Yeah, because now Don knows what it's like to talk to him on when he's on Skype.
I've never been on Skype.
It's
when you call your phone, it's on Skype.
Yeah, it's on Skype. And the point is, I'm sitting. I'd be sitting here with Don trying to get. It's just that you can't hear me, and like Frank couldn't hear you. That was all. That's why I was. That's why I was laughing.
I didn't get to. I don't get to go for half hour, 45 minutes either.
Yeah, one of the things to keep.
The thing about you say discussion. I mean, in my head, when you have a discussion, it's usually at least two people, talking, and there are so many places there that. I just wanted some clarification.
Yeah,
and it's hard to do. It's hard to do because that guy Frank there is, he's fluid. He doesn't come up for air a lot, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense.
Sure. And it's one of the downsides to
man and whatnot. But I just have problems when we get into the thing about shutting down the government. When this is the thing I've been talking about for years. Is like people.
Hey, Des, turn up his mic a little bit, will you, Des?
This boogeyman. This boogeyman government that's supposed to be us. That's not supposed to be this other faction against us. We're supposed to be the power behind the government, and we're not. Now we're all MFing the government, but we're supposed to be the government. And until we get that back in our hands, it's going to be a dog and pony show.
Sure, and I don't disagree with anything you just said. But to quote Hillary Clinton, it is a very very patriotic thing to do. To go out there and protest against the government, is it not? To go out there and make your voice be heard when you disagree with what they're doing.
Well, I agree that protest is
it's the most patriotic thing you could do, is what Hillary Clinton said.
Isn't that what the Tea Party people were just doing,
and have continued to do? Yes,
okay.
absolutely,
and that goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where you do your ultimate protest, where you have your voice heard the strongest, and for at least a projected amount of time is at the polling booth.
Yeah,
it's not like you get somebody in the office.
Yeah, I completely disagree.
The mayor or whatever, and then a certain faction or percentage wants to disrupt everything because they didn't get it their way.
Right.
Whether it's Democrats, Republicans, or Tea Party, we are supposed to be the power.
All right.
Yeah. The problem is
we got to go to break, guys. I got 10 seconds left in the bump.
The problem is too many goddamn people are uneducated. They don't know what the hell they're voting for. They check a damn box.
All right. Highly underinformed.
Outlaw Radio Network, top of the hour news. Kicking you guys off. Bump is here. News is next. We're back after this.
Don't cut me off.
PR News in Washington. I'm Jim Hawk. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says there will not be a repeat of this month's government shutdown come January 15th when the new budget expires. And South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham told CBS's Face the Nation the shutdown strategy was doomed.
The tactic of defunding the government unless he repealed his signature issue was as poorly designed as Obamacare itself, almost.
A bipartisan group of House and Senate negotiators continues its work on Capitol Hill. As part of the 3-month budget deal, they have until December 13th to produce a report. A Massachusetts judge is considering a possible plea deal for the former chemist at the center of a drug lab scandal in Boston that led to the collapse of hundreds of drug cases. From member station WBUR in Boston, Deborah Becker reports.
Prosecutors say she threw the entire Massachusetts criminal justice system into a tailspin, and they're asking for a 5 to 7 year prison sentence for former chemist Annie Ducon. She's charged with falsifying thousands of drug tests affecting more than 40,000 criminal cases and leading to the release of more than 300 inmates. Ducon's attorney, Nicholas Gordon, asked for a 1-year sentence, saying his client did not intend harm but made mistakes trying to be a star chemist.
And the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is not going to heal anymore if she were in jail or prison for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years any more than they would with her in jail for 1 year.
The judge will decide next week. For NPR News, I'm Deborah Becker in Boston.
New Jersey is expected to perform the first gay marriages in the state just after the stroke of midnight. Sarah Gonzalez of New Jersey Public Radio reports.
Mayors across the state are keeping city halls open late tonight to officiate the first gay wedding ceremonies. In Lambertville, New Jersey, City Councilwoman Beth Azzaro and Joanne Shaley were the first same-sex couple to apply for a civil union in the state in 2007. Azzaro says they plan to be among the first to marry tonight.
We're going to open up the Justice Center at 10 o'clock at night. We're going to have a little bit of food and nosh.
Then at 12:01, we'll apply for a marriage license. We'll go right into the ceremony.
Republican Governor Chris Christie asked the state Supreme Court to postpone gay marriages until his appeal of same-sex marriages is heard in January. The Supreme Court denied his request. For NPR News, I'm Sarah Gonzalez in Hoboken.
Hurricane Raymond formed on Sunday, barreling toward Mexico's Pacific coast and threatening to dump heavy rain on the beach resort of Acapulco, which is still recovering from destructive floods last month. The National Hurricane Center says Raymond could get close to the coast of Mexico late on Monday or on Tuesday. Mexico suffered its worst flooding on record in mid-September when more than 150 people died, and the storm caused an estimated damage of around $6 billion. You're listening to NPR News in Washington. Federal investigators are at the site of a deadly transit accident in the San Francisco Bay Area. The National Transportation Safety Board wants to know why an out-of-service Bay Area rapid transit train struck and killed 2 transit workers early Saturday. The BART system is shut down because of a union work stoppage. World powers are warming to negotiations with Iran over its nuclear program after talks in Geneva last week. But as NPR's Emily Harris reports from Jerusalem, Israel's first public response to the Geneva meeting shows little change.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told his cabinet Sunday that international pressure should continue and even increase on Iran until Tehran takes actions to prove it is not trying to build a nuclear bomb. He said Iran has systematically misled the international community during years of talks and that only strong pressure will increase the chance that Iran will dismantle its alleged nuclear weapons program. Iran denies it's pursuing a bomb and is negotiating with the U.S. and other major world powers about easing economic sanctions. Emily Harris, NPR News, Jerusalem.
Carol Burnett is the latest recipient of the nation's top humor prize after a ceremony at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Julie Andrews, Tony Bennett, Tina Fey, and other stars honored Burnett as she received the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. Topping the box office for the third straight week, the space adventure Gravity continues to dominate. The Warner Brothers film has now made more than $170 million in 3 weeks. The Tom Hanks Somali pirate docudrama Captain Phillips maintained second place in its second week. I'm Jim Hawk, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR.
Hey, St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to send a quick shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all of your concrete needs. They can do pathways, walkways, driveways, you name it. You need a new foundation, you're going to do an add-on, give them a call, 731-9812 or 649-0987. Again, that's 731-9812 or 649-0987. Pacific Northwest Artisans, all of your concrete needs.
Rachel's on the East Side hosts a full menu, including pasta and sandwiches. Plus, Rachel's has got the best pizza in all of Bremerton. And while the weather's nice, enjoy a great night at Rachel's by enjoying their outdoor seating area. Rachel's on the East Side, conveniently located at 1217 Silverway in Bremerton. Rachel's is even open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. So whether it's a romantic night out or a family outing, enjoy the best food on the Kitsap Peninsula at Rachel's on the East Side.
Video Me Productions combines technical experience with a keen eye to produce high-quality videos. Video Me Productions is experienced, passionate, and creative. Video Me puts out high-quality videos from commercials to weddings and family gatherings to concerts and live events. Call Video Me today and find out how their video services can help you. 360-620-4888 or visit their website to see video demos of their work at videomeproductions.com.
All right, it's the Outlaw Radio Network as we get ourselves positioned for the camera. Thanks to all of you for checking out the show. Thanks again to Frank Aquila, author of Sarah Palin Out of Nowhere, for joining us in the last hour. You can pick up the book at sarahpalinoutofnowhere.com.
Frank, the second smartest man I know.
Besides me. Thank you, Paul.
Aquila, and that rhymes with tequila. And I had to go out and slam a pint of it after that. that break.
He got flustered, and
he wanted to rip into Frank.
Okay, well, come on, Paul. You are.
Oh no, I feel you. I go through it every time you call the show.
No, yeah, but wait. You don't even know what I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
Or maybe you do. You're amazing. We're covering territory that's 2 and 3 years old there.
Yeah, but a man still has an opinion.
Well, I know, but I mean, we can't have a discussion the way that was operating. I mean, it was
Well, that's
frustrating.
Kevin's fault.
That's
You blame Kevin.
Yeah, who's the producer? Yeah,
Blame Kevin.
There you go.
Kevin's the one who took it on that weird tangent.
Yeah.
I don't. So
No, every time anybody brings up gay and lesbian marriage and religion, I have to shoot it down. I gotta go. It's like a dog on a bone, man.
Well,
I mean, there's a time and place to talk that.
Yeah, I mean, and if you want to deny people their own faith, their own thought process, I mean, that's on you, and that's fine.
Yeah, and if you want to deny somebody a life partner that they can actually be happy with for the rest of their life, you keep going the route.
But a person still has a right to their personal feelings and their opinion on the stuff.
Sure, but then their personal feelings don't have to impact somebody else's personal feelings.
Exactly. Or my government.
That's
exactly
it's my government too.
I know it's ours, so we all should get along.
I mean, it's
with
not
it.
so much anymore my government, but
well,
I'm just kidding. I'm trying to segue for us. You know?
It's a good segue because I have a plan.
All right, go ahead.
What's your plan? You got a plan?
Tell us your plan.
I got a plan, and it's so simple. I just don't understand why everybody's just not getting on board.
Shoot all the conservatives.
It's easy. It's easy.
Outlaw conservatism.
But I'm going to tell you right now, it does involve democracy. So if you're not on,
we're not a democracy.
No, I said it involves democracy, the democratic process, not the Democrat process, the democratic process of, one man, one vote, one woman, one vote, et cetera, et cetera. But the 3 things we got to do, and we got to get it over with. If we don't take care of all 3, we're screwed. And that is that we have to have bank and Wall Street reform.
Sure, totally.
Okay, you're on board. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
And we need to.
Can I ask you one question about that?
Yeah.
Does that include ending the Fed?
No,
I know that's controversial, and I'm not one way or another on it.
I'm not going to claim to be that much of an economics major to tell you that I think we should do away with the Fed.
I was just curious.
But what we need to do away with is all the malarkey that goes on between the big banks and Wall Street and the Fed. I mean, look at the...
It's like a triumvirate.
Yeah, look at all the inbreeding going on in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
This guy leaves this place, goes over... we talk about lobbyists. I mean, they got their own brand of lobbyists.
Wall Street and the Fed, where the family tree have no branches.
So that needs reworked to the betterment of the people. There has to be complete transparency. They got to report. The buck's got to stop somewhere.
The Fed refuses to be audited, so...
Well, there you go.
And if you're going to give Ron Paul credit for something, that would have to be it. Is call for that.
See,
but,
we got common ground there.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and the Pauls could get on board with that. We need to have campaign finance reform.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, we've talked about Citizens United till I'm blue in the face. And lastly, we do need to have tax reform.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not tax reform that's dictated by these shills that are in there working for them.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you bring up an excellent point. Now, just to ask you a question, when you say tax reform, because I've heard a lot of different ideas on tax reform, and I don't think any are bad per se, but none of them stand out to me as far as an idea or a concept goes as much as a flat tax. When you say tax reform, what's your concept of tax reform?
Okay, I don't think that. Again, I'm not an economics major.
It's okay.
But
you're a common guy like the rest of us. What's your idea?
I don't think that the simplicity of just saying a flat tax is going to work.
Okay.
You've got companies that have 3 or 4 floors in block square buildings full of nothing but accountants and lawyers that are looking to, punch out their 3,000-page tax return so they bottom out at 0 or even get subsidies back, like GE and some of the oil companies and whatnot. They would be putting up a tremendous fight. What I'm talking about isn't going to happen overnight, but tax reform, the main thing is it has to be fair. And right now it's not fair, okay? We know that. But you can't, listening to Frank, right, is his name?
Yeah, Frank, yeah.
Yeah.
Frank Aquila.
This thing about we've got too much government, we need to cut this, we need to cut that. I don't want to be driving down I-5 and I hit the Washington border going into Oregon, and now all of a sudden the road turns into gravel with potholes on it when I'm going 70 miles an hour.
Well-
I don't want to get in an airplane that I don't even know. I mean, you want to have no government, you want to have no regulation, go down and live in Somalia.
Sure, but I don't think. Hold on.
Land in
But-
that airport.
But people aren't talking about going from one extreme to the other, Don. And I think you know that. I don't think that's what we're saying. But go ahead.
It's not that we need to have less government so much. We need to have government that works for we, the people, that elected these people to government to do our bidding. They're not doing our bidding. They're making us think that they're doing some of it. They're throwing us a bone. They're throwing us a soundbite. They're telling us what the American people want. But the only thing that they're doing and getting done is the stuff that's putting dough in their back pocket.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can I give an example of this for you, just to illustrate what you're talking about, Don? You know, we had this big conversation.
Talk about Kentucky.
Yep, we're going to talk about Kentucky. Last week, we had this big issue with the debt ceiling, the big issue with getting the government back on track.
Yep.
Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid both stand up together. They work out a deal. And initially, I wanted to call Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid heroes. They saved the day. They came in. Excuse me. When the House couldn't get a bill together, the minority and majority Senate leaders came in and they made a deal work and they got it figured out. We find out later that Mitch McConnell made sure that he put a deal in the deal that passed that got us over all these humps.
Right.
Where there was
Got a little juice in there.
Well, he made sure it got put in, and Harry Reid made sure it got passed.
$2.9 billion for a dam project. Now, again, and this is part of the issue.
That's been a pet project of his for years.
But it has nothing to do with restoring the government. It has nothing to do with the debt ceiling. But they made sure they put it in there.
Paul's always talking about the pork, and I mean, that's some pork au gratin.
That's goddamn pork right there. That's what that is. That's
and this getting this debt ceiling circus over with. There was a lot of backroom deals cut. Maybe some of them haven't been paid for yet. But they got the secret handshake, and they're going to get theirs down the road somewhere or another. They're going to get the old reach around, and we're going to get the end around with the flea flicker option. It's ridiculous. We need to put a stop to it. And like I said, the bank and Wall Street reform, tax reform, and campaign finance reform. We cannot have dark, anonymous, and foreign money being injected into our electoral system. It's just ridiculous, and it's happening. I can't remember who it was now, but they from the right, you get people saying, well, what about George Soros? What about the unions? What about this and that? Yeah, screw them too. They shouldn't be able to put together big piles of cash. And, but on the other hand, they're outnumbered pack-wise, and I could care less. But that's what we're up against. And when you're going, I mean, you watch all the, read the books, watch the movies. The guys that, hey, this guy's going to disappear. This guy's going to have a terrible car accident. His brakes went out, whatever. I mean, there's going to be stuff like that going down.
Yeah.
And, because when people stand up and want to pull the curtain back from the wizard and show everybody that he's just some clown with a microphone and he ain't the big all-powerful Oz, heads are going to roll. We need to get together. Doesn't matter if you're right, left, Tea Party, up the middle. We need to put our heads on. You said, that there's a lot of ignorant people or stupid people or whatever. I like to be I like to say underinformed. Because the info's there.
Well,
it could be here. In this game with the Colts and the
I do say I mean I'm not saying stupid or ignorant. I'm just simply saying they're uneducated when it comes to they don't know enough and they don't take the time to learn enough about the issues that matter to them, and they just check a box on if they even bother to vote. They just check a box, and that drives me nuts.
Right. Or you get a protest vote, or like I said earlier.
Protest vote, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or you get the worst, which is somebody that's so pissed off with the whole system that they sit on their hands and they don't even go to the polls.
Right. Which annoys me even more.
Yeah. So you get what you paid for. You get what you voted for. You voted for nothing, you get nothing.
Yep.
We need to get together. This here it's out of control. I mean, I know, and I don't say this as any feather in my hat. I'd love to be, half the age, but. I've been a voter and followed politics before I was voting tremendously back in the days when Robert Kennedy was running for president, when he got assassinated, and
goddamn, you're old.
I am. So sometimes when I talk about things, I get a little indignant sometimes because I'm like going, I got a guy telling me something about a president that he wasn't even alive, or he was riding a bicycle when this guy was president. You know, I was 25 or 26 or whatever, and I lived through those days. And I'd like to think that I got a little bit of more like real live action insight into what was going on then. A lot of this stuff we talked about, short memory. You know, people got a short memory. You know, I mean, look at all the stuff that's gone on just in, you know, the last few presidents. You know, from the Lewinsky Hummer in the Oval Room on up, all these things that get pushed under the carpet. They go, oh, well, you know, yeah, I know Reagan sold arms to Iran, but you know, that was then. Now Iran, they got nuclear weapons. We sold arms to every flipping country over there.
I was going to ask you,
every one of them.
Do you think we have an unrealistic view when conservatives are looking back at the 80s and they're looking at Reagan and they're... No, because he's talking about that he was through the president. He's lived through these presidents.
I voted for the guy once.
But is there an unrealistic expectation now? I mean, are conservatives using Reagan's name almost in a way that doesn't really even fit what they're trying to do now?
Well, none of them are saints, and what you get is when you got people that want to put them on a pedestal, they're only going to talk about the things that they did well. I mean, Reagan did some good things, he did some bad things. So you know, every president that's been in there pretty much has. Reagan raised taxes left and right. You know,
and pardoned a whole bunch of illegals.
And I want to get on to something else because it was kind of jarring my memory a little bit. I was like, on this debt ceiling crap, we had a handle on this for, you know, I had to go back, and you know, it was back in the Carter days. Okay, don't. Jimmy Carter. But back in the Carter days, we went through this.
Vote for me. I'd like to ride some peanuts.
We had a debt ceiling crisis back then, and it did, you know, wreak havoc with the economy. Our taxes, or you know, everything was screwed up there.
Actually, I'd like to point out that, as a matter of fact, twice in this nation's history have we the debt ceiling has caused us to actually default on our debts. So the reporting that was coming out during this entire crisis over the last couple of weeks. In fact, the two times that we defaulted on our debt was one was while James Madison was president and the British invaded and actually took over Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't able to secure enough treasure basically to pay the bills. Yeah. And the second time was during Jimmy Carter's administration.
Right, and what they did back then, do you know how they solved that?
Oh, hell no, I wasn't there.
Okay.
Well, I was,
okay. Well,
but I wasn't old enough to know.
Let me share this with you.
I only know the facts, not the peripheral stuff.
Dick Gephardt was assigned with trying to put something together that everybody would get on board with to do away with this problem once and for all, because, as has been said many times, but yet still some people just don't get it, the debt ceiling is to cover bets you've already made, money you've already spent through appropriations with the Congress. All you're doing is allowing those things to be paid. At a later date, you have to have that debt ceiling raised, like your credit limit on your credit card.
Right, that's why to me,
Okay.
and you can tell me if I'm wrong. To me, the debt ceiling argument isn't really where it should be. That's not where not where you make the argument about lowering our spending. Is that correct?
Exactly, because let me tell you what they did. And you can look this up because I'm not pulling this.
I trust you. You don't lie all the time.
The Gephardt rule they put together.
Yeah, the Gephardt rule.
They put together a deal was like, hey, this only makes sense if you're gonna make a budget that you're spending this much money, then at the same time you pass that budget, we are going to raise the debt ceiling to that amount. Now, in the meantime, if you blow more money than what's in the budget, guess what? Yeah, you are going to ding the debt limit. But when we passed that, so we had it for about 15, 16 years, I think, and everything was fine. We didn't have the debt ceiling controversy that, you know, like we have now. It wasn't out there and that was one of the specifics of why they wanted to do away with it, was because of the leverage that could be used with that thing. Okay, so, you know, I hate to say it, but the guy that spearheaded getting that thing pulled out of there, so we had it separate. Here's your budget, here's your debt ceiling coming down the road later, was Newt Gingrich. And I want to say like 85 or 86. I'm going to have to look it up. But that's what happened. That's when this debt ceiling got extracted out of something that was fixed, so we would never have this kind of BS. Because, you know, I don't care what side of the fence you're on. This thing here was a total cluster. It cost us billions of dollars by anybody's math, and it shouldn't be out there and even be allowed to be played with again. It's like letting a little kid throw matches at a gas can. You know, hey, take the matches away, you know, or move the gas can. Don't let them just keep doing this because it's going to end up ugly. And
Am I the only guy that thinks that this is going to continue, this division in D.C. between the budget and the debt ceiling and this inability to get bills passed and really make any meaningful change? Am I the only guy in the room that thinks this is going to continue indefinitely until this nation is faced with something amazingly disastrous?
Well, listen,
and I mean another 9/11. I mean another major war with another nation.
Kevin,
Something
I'm
that has
not
pull
trying
these
to
guys
dismiss
together.
what you're saying, but I think you're really missing the big point.
No, I'm
the
just-
big point. No, hold on. The big point, Kevin, is that at least the Tea Party conservatives are going to keep hammering it home until people on the other side of the aisle actually stand in front of the cameras and in front of the American people and say, yeah, we've got a spending problem. We have to figure out a way to deal with it. Because up until today, till this point in time, I dare you, Don, to look me straight in the face and tell me, yeah, we're dealing with the debt problem. Because it's
we're
disingenuous. It is a lie. Nobody in Washington, D.C., except for the Tea Party extremists, as people like to call them, are trying to sit down and have a conversation and saying, how the hell are we going to deal with the debt problem?
But I'm not debating that. But what I'm asking is it just me, or do I think we're not ever going to get these three sides? Because now it's three sides, right? It's moderate Republicans, conservative Republicans, and the Democrats. That these three will never come together. Because Democrats aren't going to give up the social programs they've already gotten. Even the spending that may be questionable. You know, Frank talked last hour about the EPA. The Democrats are not suddenly going to wake up tomorrow and go, okay, well, let's cut the EPA. They're not going to do that. Republicans are not going to give up the programs that they've wanted. They're not going to give up military spending, even though we're probably spending too much on the military.
Actually, they've cut back a great deal on the military spending. In fact, as I stated before in the last hour, 171,000 military vets have been dropped from the VA rolls as far as their health insurance is concerned.
And
I'm one of those people. So
that's an atrocity. That's an atrocity.
well, that is, yeah.
So, but that's as a direct result of the Affordable Care Act. So,
no, you know.
No, there's no. It's exactly because of the Affordable Care Act. It was a cost-saving measure.
Okay, so let's say it
to
is.
force us onto the doles of the Affordable Care Act.
So let's say it is.
Well, no, it is.
Okay, I just said let's. Say
I know, but you were
it
condescending
is.
when you said it. Let's keep it real. It was, and it is. So go on.
Okay, that's something to talk about. That's a conversation to have. If the Affordable Care Act was the one-eyed monster, the ruinous future of the economy and everything else that it's been portrayed to be, which I wanted to ask Frank earlier when he was talking about what a train wreck it was. Instead of wasting all this money that we just wasted to put up this
The website, $87 billion.
Yeah, during the shutdown and all the leveraging that was going on to try to stop Obamacare, wouldn't it have been a lot cheaper to just let it go into effect and let it stumble merrily along past the January date? Let it cave in on its own.
That's an equitable argument. I would agree.
And then say, "Hey, told you so." Now, I for one would be going, "Gee, those guys were right all along." But the way it is,
No,
right
you
now,
wouldn't.
No. Did I
Okay,
not tell you?
Go ahead. I'm razzing you.
He's being a smart ass.
I voted for Reagan once, and I voted for George W. Bush once. Okay, so don't say that.
You
I
voted
would.
for
Blasphemy.
Bush? Wow.
Yeah.
No, and listen,
he admitted it here first.
But Paul, listen, I'm not. I'm going to come back to this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. That's not the point. You're missing the point of my question, which is, let's pretend the Tea Party is correctly the only group that's holding us accountable, and the mainstream Republicans aren't going to give up their crap. Democrats aren't going to give up their crap. My point is, I believe this is a new reality now. This is how we're going to be every single election cycle, every time there's a budget, that these three sides will not come together. And the only thing that will bring them back together is when we face a 9/11 scenario again, when we face a major...
the aliens attack.
Well, the aliens attack, we're all going to a bunker.
Right.
But a major skirmish with another nation, something that basically kicks these yahoos in the ass.
Yeah. Kevin,
until that happens, though, these sides, whoever's right, whoever's wrong, they're not going to meet. And that's the frustrating thing for me.
They're going to meet if you let the government get back powered by people instead of money. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we just gotta, I'm gonna sing off that same sheet of music that's only 3 or 4 bars because it's that friggin' simple.
Sure, I don't disagree with that, but how?
Money
how? It's not that you're wrong. I'm agreeing with you, but how?
At the polling booth, we got to get the right people in there that are actually going to do.
Who are the right people?
I don't know,
Okay.
Paul. It's not something that's going to get fixed in one election cycle. Look how long it took them to screw it up now.
I know, right?
And this has been going on for over 100 years, where we've allowed corporate interests to put their tentacles into our government, and somehow they took that government that everybody was so proud of, that guys, fought and bled for it, had their legs cut off and all other kinds of nasty stuff back in the day, when they didn't have the easy, wipe somebody out with a 500 or 1,000-pound bomb and take out a whole outfit. The revolution, even World War II, when we came back from World War II, we didn't have, sure, there was some, American Nazi parties and this and that, but they had no power. They were the guys squawking on the radio that everybody, disdained and threw rocks at. As a nation, we came together back then, but that we don't come together like that now. You had that feeling. You mentioned 9/11. Everybody, felt like they were coming together there. Bush got up there on that pile of busted up stuff and said somebody's going to pay. And I'm saying, you goddamn right. Who's going to pay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, Iraq's going to pay. All right, let's go kick their ass. Okay, well, I'm man enough to say I was wrong. Okay, we had no business doing what we did over there for 9/11.
Right.
Maybe there's reasons, but we've sold those guys weapons. We've been, guys, pictures of Rumsfeld and the whole outfit over there pounding it.
Oh, yeah, we sold them weapons back in the 80s during their war against Iran.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no
we
two ways
sold
about it.
We sold Iran weapons, too.
Yeah, it was great business.
Yeah, the arms business is good business. That's why I'm starting to think. You think there's a connection while we're always so quick to go into these skirmishes and use some of our military stuff? And you talked about, cutting the defense budget. Well, I mean, there's planes and weaponry and gadgets that the Department of Defense, they don't even want it. It's outdated. There's, fields of this stuff laying in Kansas somewhere. But yet some guy that's getting his pockets lined by the industry that makes that stuff is getting bills passed to keep spending money. We got to cut that crap.
Hold on a break for 2 seconds. I want to do this really quick because one of the things that I know that you're passionate about that applies to this, I'm surprised you haven't brought it up, is Citizens United.
He's brought it up about 44 times.
I just meant just now we were talking about how to get money and get the candidates out of the money and get them working for us again. And I know that Citizens United is a really big important piece of that for you. So before we go to break and wrap this up, tell people, are there any plans? How do they follow you? How do they keep track of the group that you're a part of that's really fighting against the Citizens United ruling?
Well, that's Move to Amend. I mean, you go to movetoamend.org and find out what they're all about, and they are making headway. There's a long list that I couldn't even begin to go off about. Cities, counties, and states that have made token resolutions and movement to at least show that those elected, whether they be city council people and the mayor or representatives or whatever, are in support of the people that want to shut that off. There's some other cases that are going before the Supreme Court that could make things even worse than they are now. But as it stands, I mean, people do not have a clue, really, for the most part, of the amount of money that is going into these elections from all over the place. They talk about somebody in California sending money to the Schlichter that's running against Jan Angel.
Mm-hmm.
On that side, you got
She's gone dark, by the way.
And on her side, she's the co-chair for ALEC. Well, I don't hear her in her speeches talking about that she's with ALEC, but yet she sends me a Facebook message and says, if you really want to know the truth, ALEC's for the middle class, and I'd be glad to talk to you about it. And I'm not lying. I still got it on my Facebook, and I wrote her back and I said, great. Set it up. I know Chris Tibbs, he's, campaigning for whatnot. Let's set it up. I'd love to talk to you about ALEC, because I don't think ALEC is the philanthropic, do-good outfit that everybody is led to believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're a bill mill is what they are. And corporations go in there. I mean, look at the list. I know that Paul has taken offense a couple times when I've mentioned Tea Party and Koch brothers in the same sentence, but there is a part of the Tea Party that has been financed by the Koch brothers, and they don't deny it. And I'm not saying that the premise of the Tea Party.
Yeah.
I'm saying one of these outfits that has the $1 million buses with the big paint job, whether it's Tea Party, Patriots, Express, whatever. I don't even keep up with it. They are financed by Koch brothers and big corporation that are trying to raise havoc. Well, the Koch brothers went all of a sudden. They were like Dr. Frankenstein. Hey, this thing got loose, and this is going to cost me some money in the markets, and we got to shut this off. So what do? They write a letter and say, hey, we're not for shutting down the government. And then all of a sudden, what happens? 3 or 4 days later, government turned back on.
Sure. The only reason I take umbrage with it is because it's like me going out and trying to draw a parallel with George Soros and the work he's done for leftist organizations and leftist groups. Now, you shake your head no, but I'm saying
I'm agreeing.
Here's my point. My point is just simply that George Soros doesn't control what you think, and the Koch brothers don't control what I think. That's my only point. And so it'd be like me, you comparing, me as a Tea Party supporter to the Koch brothers, or vice versa with George Soros.
Sure, but the thing you have to remember is George Soros, Koch brothers, and whoever, they don't care what you and I think.
Exactly, and I don't give a damn about them.
Well, we should, though.
No, I really don't. That's my point. By not giving a shit about them, they'd have no control and no power over me.
Well, yes, they do.
They're opportunists, though, really, aren't they? I mean,
they do have power. Let me address that. They do have power because the power that they're getting is the power of legislation that benefits them and not you and me.
Yeah, no, that I agree with that,
Okay,
but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying me personally.
I know, but
I don't go out.
Paul,
I don't espouse. Hold on, I don't espouse their virtues or their values. I've never read a talking point from the Koch brothers, and I doubt you've ever read a George Soros talking point. You don't go out and defend George Soros. I don't go out and defend the Koch brothers. My point is that I don't defend them. I don't know anything about them. I don't give a damn about them. I don't care about them. And I'm willing to bet you're the same way with George Soros.
No, you do need to give it down.
All right, let's end it here. Bottom of the hour break. Don, thanks for coming in, man. We love you.
Yep.
All right, bottom of the hour break. We got football picks coming around the corner. Trojo's here. We got.
God dang, the Colts won.
We'll talk about that after the break.
The Colts won.
Outlaw Radio Network. Down goes Manning.
The Colts won.
Hey, St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to send a quick shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all of your concrete needs. They can do pathways, walkways, driveways, you name it. You need a new foundation, you're going to do an add-on, give them a call, 731-9812 or 649-0987. Again, that's 731-9812 or 649-0987. Pacific Northwest Artisans, all of your concrete needs.
Rachel's on the East Side boasts a full menu, including pasta and sandwiches. Plus, Rachel's has got the best pizza in all of Bremerton. And while the weather's nice, enjoy a great night at Rachel's by enjoying their outdoor seating area. Rachel's on the East Side, conveniently located at 1217 Silverway in Bremerton. Rachel's is even open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. So whether it's a romantic night out or a family outing, enjoy the best food on the Kitsap Peninsula at Rachel's on the East Side.
Video Me Productions combines technical experience with a keen eye to produce high-quality videos. Video Me Productions is experienced, passionate, and creative. Video Me puts out high-quality videos from commercials to weddings and family gatherings to concerts and live events. Call Video Me today and find out how their video services can help you. 360-620-4888 or visit their website to see video demos of their work at videomeproductions.com.
Located on beautiful Silverdale waterfront, Oxford Suites offers 104 non-smoking suites. It's the perfect place for an evening away or for those out-of-town relatives, and with military and senior discounts, it has never been more affordable to stay. Enjoy a complimentary hot breakfast, free high-speed wireless internet, on-site fitness center, and indoor pool. Oxford Suites in Silverdale. Exceptional has never been so affordable.
The phone lines are open. Call now, 253-617-1440. Again, that's 253-617-1440. The Outlaw Radio Network is back after this.
As Kitsap County's largest maintenance provider, Team Innovative in Paulsbo provides commercial and residential maintenance to hundreds of millions of dollars of local real estate. With services including parking lot maintenance and street cleaning to landscape and design, Team Innovative is committed to using a green approach and following a strong environmental conscience. Team Innovative Services, 697-6858, or visit them online at getinnovative.net. Team Innovative Services, get serious, get innovative.
Good evening. My name's Wayne. Some of you may have seen me before. I've been kicking around Hollywood a long time.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. OutlawRadioNetwork.com.
Because I think it's the best thing of its kind that's come along. And I hope you'll agree with me. It's honest, it's adult, it's realistic.
All right, it's the Outlaw Radio Network going to the bottom of the third hour. Thanks for checking out the show. Thanks again to Klaatu for coming in. We've had a great fun show tonight. Very lively.
It's flown by, and it's going to keep flowing by because we've got not only do we have Trojo in studio tonight with us.
What's up, Razorback?
What's up?
I can't believe you're wearing that.
It's
crap.
on. It's on.
You're on.
He turned the black man's mic on.
Hey,
it's a miracle.
It's a miracle. It is what it is. Hey, you know what? Hey, it's my alma mater.
Get that out of here.
I will still support my Razorbacks, just like I support my Cowboys, no matter what.
Well, you can feel good about that tonight. And over to our left over here, can I just call you? Can we just leave it at Adrian? Is that good?
Yo, Adrian!
How did you know that wasn't coming, right?
Yeah.
Hey, yo, Adrian.
Yeah. Is Adrian's mic on strip? Yeah, it is.
Yes,
okay,
it
good.
is. He need to get a little closer.
Listen, before we get into sports
shot.
really quick, I just personally, I just feel the need to say this. Not that anybody with his
If you're
family,
going where I think you're going with this.
shut your mouth. Not that I think anybody in his family will ever hear this, but the Dogfather passed away today. Don James, the legendary coach of the Huskies.
That's sports related. That's okay.
That's before we got into the rest of the sports.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say that as a Husky fan, as a loyal Husky fan, loyalty is something those Razorback fans would know nothing about.
What?
Yeah, remember Norm Richardson? Shut up.
I remember Norm Richardson. We know what happened to him too.
For Don James to have lost his battle with cancer today, it's a very sad day in Husky Nation, and
everybody loses their battle with life at some point in time, my friend.
It does. No, I know. I just I would have hoped that at some point the Husky program would have returned to a state of national prominence before he passed away, so that he could have enjoyed one last.
Up until the last 3 weeks, they were on their way.
They lost to Arizona State, man.
Yeah, that was a sad.
That's
loss.
sad.
Actually, they lost bad too. That was
horribly bad.
That wasn't good.
I mean, listen.
All right, let's not talk about the Huskies anymore.
I expect them to lose to Oregon. I expect them to lose to Stanford. That game against Arizona State, you've got to be kidding me, man.
And Oregon.
Well, or I expect them to lose to Oregon. I just don't think that.
Yeah, you might have expected it.
I expected.
I was
just because they've got
expecting to win.
horses. No, I would have loved to win, but as a logical football fan, you look at the speed that Oregon's got. The Huskies are still trying to build up to that. They just haven't been able to fill the gap yet.
Razorbacks.
Now, did you see the Cougar game last night, Adrian? Did you watch the Cougars and the Ducks yesterday?
No, I don't watch the Cougars.
The Cougs hung with the Ducks the entire game, man.
Yeah, I saw the highlights.
Lost,
I was
didn't
really
they?
surprised.
They lost.
Doesn't
but
matter
The
then.
Cougs hung with them,
The
man.
quarterback kept them in that game.
Yeah. Did you see that horrible helmets the Ducks wore?
Did they wear the pink helmets?
Yeah, but they looked
I
bad.
think They were bad.
I think it was.
They were
good
pink.
cause.
Yeah, they were bad.
But
How were they going to look
looked
good?
Amazing.
They looked horrible.
They looked
Did
bad.
they? Yeah. How were they
They
going to
were
look good?
atrocious.
They were pink.
They should have worn
On
pink
Where's
uniform.
the breast cancer awareness?
But they should have wore a pink uniform then.
Yeah,
That helmet with that
Right.
uniform.
They were
Just-
bad with the
yeah.
uniform.
Can I
I
just
like
say
the
that was
helmets,
bad.
though, a lot.
I'm going to say this, Des, okay? All right? It was for breast cancer awareness, right? Did anybody watch that game, or was anybody watching that game already not aware of breast cancer? No, I'm pretty sure everybody watching the game was already aware of breast cancer. And I heard them doing this interview on ESPN about how everybody's been affected by breast cancer. No, actually, I'm sorry.
Oh, knock on wood.
I haven't.
You stupid ass motherfucker, knock on wood.
I'm
Because the
just-
minute you say that, someone in your family's coming down with breast cancer.
I'm just simply saying, listen, don't make...
All
Knock on wood.
I
okay,
don't
Paul,
need a color
Paul,
and enough...
Paul.
Knock on wood.
What?
Paul, I know you know what they mean when they say everybody has been affected by breast cancer. You either know someone
know someone.
or someone's in your family that has
Yes.
breast cancer. So everyone has been affected by breast cancer.
Unfortunately, that statement is not accurate, true, or it's in fact
Really?
misleading when it comes to me because nobody
So-
in my family has ever had breast cancer.
Do you remember my friend Angie?
Stop, pause.
No, I don't.
Remember Angie and Timmy? Angie, no, okay.
But you don't know anyone.
No.
Not one
No.
person that's
No.
ever been affected by breast cancer.
No.
Wow.
Okay, so
You need to get out of Kitsap County,
I've
man.
fallen.
Right now, every female member of Paul's family is giving him the finger, saying, "You just jinxed us. You just jinxed
I'm
us."
simply making the point that I have not had anybody in my family affected by breast, and I know what breast cancer is. The helmets were fugly.
They were bad.
They were fugly.
I will say this:
I didn't need the helmets to be made aware of something I was already aware of.
The one thing
That's
I
all I'm
love
saying.
that the NFL does is all that. The one thing I love that the NFL does is all the pink stuff they have. They auction and raffle all that stuff off,
And that's great.
all the money goes back to.
No,
breast
it does
cancer.
not. That is not true.
They have the pink penalty flags.
Yeah,
That
They
needs to
did.
go. That's a horrible idea.
Yeah,
They're gone.
Actually,
they're back to yellow
never
now.
do that again.
Actually, they
That
just
was
did a
a
big
horrible
expose on that. So what you actually just said was not true.
I thought they.
In fact, only
they auctioned-
8% of the money goes
Where
back
does the
to
rest
breast
of it
cancer
go?
research. It goes to the group who sells it. In other words, like the retailer gets 50%.
It's a business.
Then it's a business.
of course it's a
Only
business.
8% of the money raised actually goes to the
8%.
to-
Better
to-
than nothing.
It is
Better
better
than
than nothing, Adrian. I agree with you 110% on that. And so I think that on that level, the expose was a little disingenuous because it tried to make it sound like it was somehow bad that only 8% they didn't have before.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
my
That's a good way
point.
to put it.
So and
And if I had
somebody
8% more sex now than I was having normally, I would be having 8% of nothing, which is still nothing. I'd still be screwed. Can we
Hey,
get
can I
off
just say
real
this?
quick?
If you want to buy a pink helmet, don't ever show it to anybody. Put it in the safe. Put it away.
And I was really disappointed too because, and I'm going to talk to Adrian because Adrian's a real sports fan, unlike you and
Can
Mr.
we
Razorback
hold on?
over
Hold on.
here.
Hold on. Can you introduce Adrian?
I don't know Adrian very
just
well.
met.
We just met.
Outside.
Did you? Did
Yeah.
you? Now, Adrian, you have some sports experience background. I don't want to give bad information. Who do you work for?
I work for Harrison Medical Center.
God
Yeah,
damn it!
see?
I was totally
But-
going the wrong.
And there we go.
Harrison Medical Center.
Yeah.
Live well.
But
Choose
And
well.
prosper.
Is
I
it
help
live
a
well?
lot of what's that?
Is it live well? Choose well. Live well?
Choose well.
Choose well. Okay.
They're
Choose
changing
well.
it though.
Yeah.
There's affiliation
But
going
as a
on,
result of your job, you get to work with a lot of
Well,
organizations.
what happened? 2008, the songs were stolen away, and about 10 of us
They were
cared.
bought.
Clay Bennett's a bitch.
They were bought.
They were illegally taken away.
They were bought. They were
They're-
purchased.
they were-
legitimate business.
Let him
move.
talk. You asked him a
Okay.
question.
I
Shut
know.
your mouth.
I know. Go ahead.
Okay. Anywho,
It's like talking to Frank Aquila.
there's like
Go ahead.
10 of us who cared. And to be honest, at the time,
I was crying, man.
You're
Go ahead.
right.
I was
And
crying.
then a bunch of groups started rallying
Yep.
together, Save the Songs, Bring Back Our Songs Nation, and I've been lucky enough to introduce myself to many of them and help do the rallies and events.
So do you volunteer for the Save Our Sonics organization, or
Kind of, yeah.
You ever met Chris Hansen?
I have.
Have you
Met him-
really?
Yeah.
If you
About
get him
3
on
weeks
this
to the home
show.
game, he had a
I'd give you a
tailgate party.
sponge bath if you could get him on the show. Okay, I wouldn't.
Dude,
but-
I don't have
Really?
Not going to happen. Hanson is a very quiet man.
Really?
No.
You know, at the point you just had him going, "Hey, I would." If you and then leave the sentence part of the sentence
Yeah.
out. As soon as you said sponge bath,
Yeah.
dude, Chris,
He
he's
was like,
gonna go back.
There goes Chris
Wait,
Hansen.
whoa.
He's gonna be like, I was thinking about it. Then dude said sponge bath. Forget it.
That's right.
Way
if
to
Chris
go.
Hansen's listening to the show, he's like, I'm going to give him an interview just to make him have to take the sponge bath. All right, let's get to our NFL stuff here really quick.
We'll let you get a sponge
By the way,
bath like
I'm
Josh
going to
Brown.
say this up front. I think we need a sports director with the network. So I want Adrian to eventually consider that possibility. We need a sports guy here so I can quit doing everything.
And now, Adrian,
while Paul
you're
is late to every show.
Adrian here is thinking about, and now Trojo, I know you had thought about some of this stuff. That's why I'm bringing this up live on air so that
wow,
I can
here
get
we
the
go.
cogs spinning. Adrian here is thinking about doing a, routine monthly interview with a sports figure. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
So we'll piece it together. No pressure, by the way. We just threw you under the bus in front of the entire listening
No,
audience, but no
it's gonna
pressure.
be awesome.
Yep.
All right, let's get to NFL picks. So last week,
I don't want to listen. I feel bad, dude. I feel like I'm really throwing Tro here under the bus, but I saw how he did this week in his picks. So piss off.
yeah,
Okay.
it's never happened before, ever. But in last place this week was your friend Jason. By the way, that's what you get when you pick Miami and whatever. He picked Tampa Bay as well because he's a dummy. But he only got 6 right. In third place was me. I got 7. Paul had 9. Trojo, first place with 11 correct. Whoa. As we wrap up this week. Now, there's one more game to play, although the 3 of us all picked the Giants to win. Jason picked a tie. If that game isn't a tie, I'm going to crap myself. So here's your standings as of right now, with the pending games from this week included. In third place is Tro, 63. He is 6 back of Paul with 69. Paul is 4 back of me with 73. So I still have the lead. I'm still going for my second year in a row running this thing. So let's just call it what it is.
You won last year on the last week by 2 games.
Doesn't matter. I won. Give me some age right there. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
A ball bouncing this way or that way, a first down here or there, a turnover there or that.
Sure.
That's how games are won. No, I'm just... Screw you, Aiden.
Yeah. It's about who wins, not what the
Starting to
scores.
not like him.
All right, so let's get into this week's games. We haven't fixed my laptop music.
Where's our
sound
theme
yet.
music?
We don't have my laptop isn't fixed yet for sound.
Well, then we'll do mine.
So
Go ahead.
That game, Minnesota and New York, I believe.
Yes.
Minnesota's going to win. If,
You think-
if AP wins, Giants' defense is horrible. He's going to run on them all day.
Do you think so? Okay. All right.
And plus, Castle's not playing. So they have
Matt
a good chance
Castle's
to
not
win.
playing. Well, Josh Freeman, though, is
Freeman's
going to play.
Freeman's going to be in there. and
He's going to be
he's
in.
gonna-
So
he's-
it's
I don't know,
going to be
man.
interesting.
He looked bad in
Wants his money,
Tampa.
he's gonna- Tampa
He looked
looks
bad in Tampa. Yeah, Tampa looks bad.
Tampa looks bad.
Tampa looks bad. Coming up in a couple of weeks, we're going to pick teams that are going to lose their coaches before the end of the year. All right, so let's start off with the Thursday game. This honestly is. I'm trying to determine if this is the shit stain game of the week.
Okay, great. Just checking.
All right.
I'm going to. There's a commercial playing. You know what? He's being mean to me again.
He's
your brother.
He's just him.
He's your brother.
Yeah, it's playing. Hold on.
Well, there may not be any sound with it yet because you don't even have the sound yet. Now it's.
Yeah, I don't have any sound on my computer.
There you go. Thank you. All right, Thursday night. This may very well be the shit stain game of the week.
CBS Sports NFL, right?
Yeah.
It's an NFL compilation.
Hey, we got 13 minutes to pull this off. Carolina at
Back
Tampa
off.
Bay. Tampa Bay's without a win, and Carolina, they just every year they don't do what anybody expects them to do. I got to pick first. I'm going to pick Carolina because I don't think I'll ever pick Tampa Bay to win a game this year because they look horrible. Greg Schiano will be the first coach fired this year. Paul? Carolina at Tampa Bay.
They're at Tampa Bay, though.
They're at Tampa Bay.
You know what?
Yeah.
No, it's the NFL. The parity is there, and any given Sunday, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay, home team.
Tampa Bay. Tro?
Good reference.
What did I say last week when I picked that Carolina? When in doubt,
You going with the black quarterback?
Go with the black quarterback.
That's right.
You racist bastard.
Isn't the quarterback for Tampa Bay black too?
No, Glendon.
No.
Oh, Glendon. Okay.
Does anybody know the name of the quarterback for Tampa Bay?
He knew.
It sounds like
Who are you
Glendon, the
picking?
good witch of the north.
Picking Carolina?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Desi is going to join us in for picking picks every game this year for the rest of the year as well.
Let's go, Desi.
Desi, who do you got?
Carolina.
Carolina. And our guest picker, Adrian.
Carolina.
Yo,
Carolina.
Adrian!
All right.
Cam Newton.
All right, Paul, you're picking first.
Out there on a limb by myself, aren't I?
You're picking first. I'm amazed at this. The Dallas Cowboys have seized control of the NFC East with their win today. They travel
they
to
should be.
Detroit to take on Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford, and the Detroit Lions. Paul?
Detroit. Yep.
You got Detroit?
I got Detroit.
All
I'll
right.
tell you why. Because Dallas is a pretender, not a contender.
All right.
All right.
Trojo?
If you say so.
I say
the one
so.
thing I'll tell you this, and the one thing you cannot deny, Dallas have played to the level of their competition, even if
Every goddamn game.
even if they haven't won them all, they have, which kills me. You know I'm going with Dallas, but it kills me. It kills me because if they play the way they know they can play, they just kill me. But
Desi?
Dallas.
Where's it going to be at?
And Detroit. Dallas at Detroit.
I'll go with the Lions.
Detroit. Adrian?
No, we picking just flat out.
Flat out.
Yep.
Straight up. Not against
No
the spread.
points. No points.
Strip, will you turn
Detroit.
up Adrian's mic just a tiny bit, please? Thank you. You got Detroit?
Yeah, I got Detroit.
I have Detroit as well, and I'll tell you why. Dallas is great at home. I think they're average on the road. I also don't think they have
They're average at home.
I
brother.
also don't think they have anybody in their secondary that can stop Calvin Johnson. So I think Calvin's going to have a huge game.
Or Reggie Bush.
All right, Cleveland at Kansas City. Trojo.
Yeah, I really haven't seen anybody be able to derail Kansas City, and they're playing in Kansas City?
They're playing in Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City.
And they're,
I
am
hate to
I
break
right
it
that
to you,
they're the
Kansas
only
City almost-
undefeated
Kansas City
team
is
left
the
in
only
the game?
undefeated team right
and they
now.
almost lost to freaking Houston today, okay? I'm sorry, Kansas City just hasn't been tested.
Yep. Desi, Cleveland at Kansas City.
I'll go with the Kansas City.
All right, Adrian?
I'm going to pick Cleveland.
What?
I can't stand that KC's undefeated.
Well,
That's ridiculous,
It bothers
isn't it?
me.
And they don't have a very good team.
No.
They
Alex
really
Smith is your
don't.
quarterback.
They just haven't played anybody worth a shit yet.
Well, they're playing Denver next week, I believe, so we'll see how
And
good
they're
they
gonna
are.
get their first loss.
I'm picking Kansas City just because now that Cleveland has gotten used to the fact that they're supposed to suck again, they traded their number one draft pick from last year. They're on their third string quarterback. This is a team that has no business winning any more games the rest of the year. Paul?
Oh, are you kidding? The Browns in Kansas City?
Yeah.
Kansas City is the loudest stadium in the history of sports, man. The loudest ever.
Yeah, so you're picking Cleveland?
No, Kansas City.
All right, just checking. All right, Desi, you're picking first. The Miami Dolphins, who got embarrassed today at Buffalo, play the New England Patriots, who got embarrassed today by the Jets.
Oh,
Jets.
Who are you picking?
The Patriots.
Patriots. Adrian?
Patriots.
All right, I'm picking New England as well, just because, Brady's going to have sand at his man pond. Paul?
Tom motherfucking Brady.
Trojo?
When in doubt, pick the white quarterback, biatch.
Right.
Well,
they're both white,
you
Paul.
can pick either one of these.
Trojo?
Yeah, New England, man.
Fair enough. All right, Adrian, you're picking first on this one. The Buffalo Bills, surprisingly, win today. They have a very easy cakewalk of a game as they travel to Nolens to take on the Saints.
What? Oh, next week. I was like, one today in New Orleans. Wait, where did I miss something?
The Saints.
Yeah, Drew Brees is going to have them for lunch, Paul.
The Aints.
All right.
His Aints
I got New
contender.
Orleans as well if Desi's writing these down. Trojo?
Yeah, that would be the Saints.
And Desi.
Do it, Des. Look at the look
Don't
on her
do
face.
it.
Do it,
Don't do
Des.
it.
Do it.
I'm like torn because
Of course you are.
One of the kids that I went to school, or one of the guys I went to school with, he's plays for the Bills, but
Yeah.
I want to say Saints.
Is he the punter?
No, he's defense.
He's a
Stephon
kicker.
Gilmore.
Gilmore. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on,
But
make a
I'm
pick.
gonna
Somehow
go
that means
with-
you need to
I'm-
pick him?
I'm gonna go with because I gotta support him. But
No, you don't.
But I'm not picking him. I'm gonna go with Drew Brees because he's my favorite. So the Saints.
All right.
There you go.
Saints.
I do think that Mario Williams is going to smack him so hard that abortion will fall off of Drew Brees' face. Whatever that thing is on the side of it.
Dude, you are the most.
Don't hate on Drew Brees.
Whatever. What is that thing on the side of his face? What is it? He reminds me.
I
of-
don't care
It's
what's
a
on the
He
side.
reminds me. He
Attractive
reminds me of the
man.
nurse. He reminds me of the nurse from
Wow,
South Park that has the
dude.
aborted fetus on the side of her face. That's what Drew Brees reminds
See,
me of.
I don't even notice
just-
Hey,
that.
what are those things on the
Wrong.
top of your shirt?
Those are called man boobs. Shut up.
Boobs or birthmarks?
They're
I don't
called
know.
boobs.
All right, the
Jesus.
Giants travel to Philadelphia. Did you see Nick Foles play today?
Yes, we did.
Nick Foles looked like the second coming of Rick Meyer.
What's
Because he
even
is
worse?
the second coming of Rick Meyer. He's right up there with Dan freaking McGuire. as
I'm
quarterback.
taking the Giants, and I'll tell you why. Tom Coughlin's team is not going to be this bad all year. They have to rebound a little
At
bit.
some point, they're going to win.
And the Eagles aren't a great team. Michael Vick is still hurt. Foles is, and then Foles got hurt
today.
And then they brought in Matt Barkley.
3 interceptions.
Hey, can I ask you a
in the
question?
fourth
If I was a
quarter.
Philly fan,
Hey,
I'd hang
hey,
myself.
Can I ask you guys a question? Between the Jaguars and the Giants, if they both go winless this year, which team gets Teddy Bridgewater? Just asking.
I don't think either
Just
one of them
asking.
would
Either one
take
of them.
Teddy Bridgewater first. I think Jadeveon Clowney out of South
No,
Carolina.
he
would
is
be
not the
one.
number one rated defensive player any longer.
Well, he will be.
By the way, it's the linebacker from UCLA. Who's
Really?
the number one rated defensive player now? I can't remember his name, but
Yeah.
because just
All right.
that dude with the last name of Clowney, just you cannot overcome that.
All right, Paul.
Yes.
Giants at Philly.
Giants.
All right, Trojo.
Damn, I want to pick a tie, but
You can pick a tie.
no, I don't.
You can pick a tie.
I
I'll
don't want
let you do
either
that.
one of the damn teams to win, but after watching,
You want the Giants to win to give a bigger gap between Philadelphia and the Cowboys. yeah.
I know. I mean, but Jesus, yeah, I'll go with the Giants.
All right,
I'll go with the
Desi.
Giants.
I will go with the Eagles.
All right, and
Go with
Adrian.
the Eagles.
Giants.
All right.
I'm the oddball.
Duh.
okay.
This is a game in London. Now, I know when people were in London thinking, we need two teams to come play here, they were picturing the 49ers and the Jaguars. Trojo, Jacksonville technically considered the home team, but it'll be in San Francisco. It'll be in London.
Yeah, we'll take San Francisco because Jaguars.
Yeah.
I don't know. I said earlier this year that I believe the Giants are the worst team in the NFL right now. It's a tie.
As a Cowboys fan, it makes you feel good to say that, doesn't
yes,
it?
sir.
All right, Desi, San Francisco, Jacksonville.
49ers.
I was hoping you'd pick Jacksonville.
No,
Adrian?
I'm
San
not that
Fran.
dumb.
Yeah, I'm picking San Francisco as well. Although I would like it if they voided Kaepernick's passport before he came back and he could never get back into the country. Paul,
You mean to tell me that you're not going to pick the Jaguars again?
I picked him last week against the Chargers.
And
I
you'll
just
never
thought the
pick 'em
Chargers-
again.
I never will. No, unless they play the Dallas Cowboys. Paul,
Okay.
Can I just point out one thing?
Yeah.
That there's a bunch
We got 5 minutes.
of gay San Francisco football players traveling
Kaepernick.
to London to
Yeah.
play football against a rough and tumble team with the name of Jaguars. Jaguars versus guys from San Francisco. Got to go with the fags.
All right.
Got to go with the Friskins.
All right.
Got to go with them. Gotta take
I'm not
it.
really sure what that means. Desi,
Yeah.
the Jets
Jets
travel to
Jets,
Cincinnati to
Jets,
take on the
Jets.
Bengals.
Bengals.
Cincinnati. All right, Adrian.
The Jets.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with Adrian. You know
Wait a
what?
minute.
Geno Smith.
You know what? Geno Smith looked great today.
Yes, sir.
Look at the stats, though.
And Rex Ryan's
It's
defense.
easy to look good against that defense
Listen,
the Patriots throw out there.
Rex
man.
Ryan's defense is he's got the defense fixed. The offense is screwed, but he's got that defense fixed. And I don't think that you're going to see AJ Green.
AC Green is basketball.
That's right. Okay, you're not going to see AJ Green do anything in the game next week. Paul.
The Jets aren't going to win another game for this month. It's going to be the Bengals.
All right, whatever you say, Trojo.
I need to make up ground.
Yeah,
against you.
I gotta go against. I gotta say the Cincinnati Bengals. However, I gotta say, weren't you the one who's picking the Jets right now? Said you wouldn't pick Jets at all this year.
They beat the Patriots, dude, and they beat them while
He
they
did
played.
say
in
that.
other
He
words,
did say that.
you've changed your opinion on the
Yeah,
Jets
because you
being
watch
the
a
worst
team
in
play.
the
You
NFL.
watch,
Geno
they're not.
Smith.
Geno Smith is a real
Geno
deal,
Smith
man.
is. Yes, he is.
He's Russell Wilson 2.0.
Yeah.
No, what I mean is, hold on. What I mean is
get what
a
you're
quarterback that wasn't expected to do much as a rookie, showing up and playing way over what people thought he was going to do.
Right.
I don't mean, he's going to be as good as Russell, but I mean he's really surprised some people,
Yeah.
especially since he wasn't supposed to be the starter anyway, and only started because Rex Ryan mismanaged his quarterback situation.
Yeah, he got rid of Tim Tebow when he shouldn't have.
Well, and then he played Sanchez in a worthless preseason game. Adrian, Pittsburgh traveling to Oakland to take on the Raiders.
Pittsburgh.
I'm going to pick Oakland because I think Darren McFadden is going to run roughshod on a horrible Pittsburgh defense. Paul? Pittsburgh has also won 2 games in a row.
Yes, they
Which is
have.
more than they won the rest of the year. So,
My gut is telling me to go with Pittsburgh.
Both teams were weak, though.
yeah, they're horrible.
Yeah.
Trojo?
It's gonna be a boring game.
No.
Shit-stained game of the week.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah,
You wipe your
probably.
ass from back to front.
You know, I'm gonna go with Oakland just because they're at home on this one.
Desi?
I'm going to go with the Raiders.
Oakland. All right, here we go. Washington at Denver. I pick first. I got Denver. Peyton's going to be pissed that he cost his team that game tonight. They were driving for a chance to tie it, and he overthrew Wes Welker and had an interception, which is very un-Peyton-esque. So
Their shitty defense cost them that game tonight.
yeah, Paul, Washington to Denver.
Oh, Denver.
All right, Trojo.
They'll keep pace with Seattle from here on out. Just needed them to lose this one, so that in the
Yeah.
power rankings.
That would be Denver.
Desi
I'll go with Denver.
and Adrian.
Peyton Manning.
Denver. By the way, who? Just really quickly, who do you think is going to be number 1 at the top of the power rankings this week?
They have to go with KC.
It'll be KC.
Has to be. I don't
Yeah,
think they're the
she's
best team.
they're
but
undefeated.
stats-
I've got to say
stats
Indy.
matter.
I have to say Indy.
No,
if you look at
no,
who
they're-
Indy's
no,
beat,
no.
hold on. If you look at
There's
who
no
Indy's
possible
beaten,
way.
though.
No, there's just
But if
no
you
way.
look at who Indy's beaten,
They lost to San Diego.
right? But if you look at who Indy's beaten, Seattle, and
Doesn't
Indy's
matter.
beaten Denver.
Doesn't matter.
All right, that's good.
I almost
It's not
got
going to matter. A 5-2 team is not going to be better
They're
in the
5-1.
power
They're
rankings.
6-1.
No, they've got 2 losses. You want to pull that up again?
Yeah, I'll
then
pull that up
apologize
right
to me
now.
later?
Any chance?
Oh, they
Jacksonville?
did. They lost last. Oh, yeah. Hold
they
on.
lost 2 games.
Hold on. I'm going to look right now, though. Anyway, who are we talking about?
Indy.
Colts are 5-2. Okay, shut up, Paul. Suck it.
Just saying.
They got impressive wins, though. Impressive wins.
Follow the power rankings every week religiously, and I'm not sure why.
Guys, we're running out of time.
We're not running out of time.
Yeah, we are.
We'll go late.
It's
all
our
right.
clock,
Atlanta
Des.
at St. Louis, Paul. The Falcons, who have looked bad this year against St. Louis.
Who's
Bradford
equally bad.
Bradford got hurt today. I don't even know who their backup quarterback is, but he's going to have to
cares? It'll be Atlanta.
suck. Atlanta? All right, Tro?
Atlanta, and there are no receivers and a broke dick running back.
Atlanta? All right.
Against the Rams,
Desi?
who can't seem to stop a runny nose.
Rogers Cromartie.
I will go with the Cardinals.
The Cardinals are in Arizona.
Great
the
pick.
Rams.
Wow.
I like your pick.
Wait. Which one are we on?
Arizona. St. Louis hosting Atlanta.
Wait, I take
The
the Cardinals
Falcons
too.
at the Rams.
I take the Cards
Are
too.
you reading that right? Because on mine it says the Falcons versus the Cardinals.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh, you read. Wait.
The
Wait,
Seahawks are
hold
going
on.
against the Rams.
Oh.
Suck it.
Well now.
I guess I wrote down the wrong game, didn't I? Hold on. Let me double check.
So anybody want to laugh at me more?
Falcons at the Cardinals.
I'm still laughing.
All right, let's go back to that, Paul. Falcons at the Cardinals.
No, fuck, it's still the Cardinals.
All right. Are you taking the Cardinals or
They're
the
at
Falcons?
Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cardinals.
You at the Cardinals. Trojo?
Oh God. Neither one of these teams really been looking too great, but Atlanta, sure, why not?
All right. Desi?
Cardinals.
All right, thank you. Adrian?
Falcons.
I got to pick the Falcons as well. I just think they have a better offense. Let's see. Trojo, Green Bay at Minnehaha. Clay Matthews still out.
Yeah, Green Bay is finding a way to get it done, and it's hard to go against Green Bay. So
Can I just say this really quick?
Yeah, Green
Is
Bay.
anybody else pissed off that Adrian Peterson was getting all that love fest from the press about the fact that his kid died and he still played the game? And then you found out 3 days later he'd never even met the kid.
And has 7 others.
Wow.
From
Yeah.
I did not hear any of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
his son. He had a 2-year-old son that he's never even met before,
he's
raised by
never
some
even
other
met.
guy. Was beat to death by
knew
his
about that
by the
part.
moms. Yeah,
Right, knew
It
about
turned
that.
out 3 days later you found out he
never met the kid.
Didn't know the kid.
Oh my
Kid didn't
God.
know him. Kid called the other guy daddy because the other guy was the one raising him. Adrian was just the biological father.
Yeah, that
Explains why he
that
was so
kinda-
quick to go play.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
lose that money not playing a game.
Yeah.
It makes
Well, because
sense.
there was
Right.
no attachment for
So
him
you know
at all.
that.
seven kids, child support can't be cheap.
Oh my
There you go.
God. He just saved a butt ton of money on his auto insurance
Don't
by
go
having his
there.
kid
Oh.
die. That's perfect.
Wow.
It's better than Geico. All right, Trojo, who you
Dude,
picking?
did you seriously just say
Yes,
that?
I said that.
A kid died, man.
I'm sorry the kid died. It doesn't change the fact he saved money on his child support. I'm just stating facts.
He didn't save money in his child support. He'd only learned
did.
the child was his son a month earlier.
No, he knew the whole
Or
time.
2 months or something.
He knew
like
the
that.
whole time.
That's not what it was reported.
That's all. I'll double check that in the
You
book.
don't believe reporting? Fox
Green Bay at
News.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Tro?
I said Green Bay
All right.
3 times already.
I'm going to stop calling him Paul and start calling him John Best because he wants to dispute the facts that everybody else knows. Desi?
Packers.
Love you, Paul. Adrian?
Can't go against Aaron Rodgers, so Green Bay.
Yeah. I'm going to go Green Bay as well. Paul?
Green Bay.
Green Bay, thank you. All right. And the last game is your Monday night game before we do the double down. The Monday night
Oh, wait,
game.
and who is it? Oh, the Seahawks and the Rams.
Shut your mouth, woman. Seattle traveling to St. Louis to take on the Rams. Desi.
Hold on. You better stop, Des. Hold on. You better apologize to her. She busted you out, and she was right, and you were wrong.
Right?
Okay, she was right on the Arizona game. It doesn't have to come up now. Desi, who are you picking?
I'll go with the Seahawks.
All right, Adrian.
Without doubt, Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm going with Seattle as well. The only games, the road trips that worry me are the 10 a.m. starts. As we saw from the Thursday night game a couple days ago when they went to Arizona, if you play them after 10 a.m., you're fine. Paul?
I'm going to go with the Rams just so I can double down on the Seahawks. I'm kidding. Seattle.
Seattle.
Are you fucking
All right.
kidding me?
Trojo?
Yeah, Seattle.
All right, now it's time for the double down. Adrian, here's how the double down works. We rattle off the games that all of us did not agree on. You get to pick one of these games and double down on it as a point to pick up an extra opportunity to pick up an extra point.
Okay.
So here's the games to choose from, and Desi will pick first. Or Desi picked first last time. Adrian will pick first. Carolina at Tampa Bay. Dallas at Detroit. Cleveland at Kansas City. The Giants at Philadelphia. The Jets at Cincinnati. Oakland hosting Pittsburgh. Atlanta at Arizona. Pick any of those as your double down. Atlanta. For my double down, I'm going to go with. Good Lord. There's no games that really jump. I'm going to go with Kansas City. They have my initials. I must keep them. Paul?
Denver.
Yeah, who was crazy enough not to pick Denver?
That guy.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Got Matt Ryan on my fantasy team.
Wait a minute. Denver, who's Denver playing again?
Kansas City.
Oh, no, Denver's not playing Kansas City.
Oh, they're not?
No, I told you earlier. Kansas City is
Washington. I think
playing
Denver
Washington.
and Washington.
Denver's playing Washington. Kansas City's playing Cleveland. Trojo?
You know what? Jesus, you're right. Not a lot of those games really stand out.
No, they don't.
Give me that list one more time. Sorry to hold it up.
Carolina at Tampa Bay, Dallas at Detroit, Cleveland at Kansas City, the Giants at Philly, New York Jets at Cincinnati, Pittsburgh at Oakland, Washington. No, you can't pick Denver. All of us picked Denver, Paul. Nobody picked Washington to be Denver.
I get that. I thought they were playing Kansas City.
No, they're not.
Good Lord.
Washington and Denver. No, I'm sorry, that isn't there. Atlanta at Arizona, and that's it. Paul?
What?
You got to pick your double down.
Oh, yeah.
Do you pay attention?
He's not winning this, is he?
He's four picks behind me, so he's in second place.
I'm 6 behind Paul, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I had a good week this week.
Shut up. I'm concentrating here. Concentrating.
Running out of time here.
New York Giants.
Giants? All right, Tro?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go with my home squad. Sure,
Dallas. All right, Desi?
Live with Dallas, die with Dallas.
Desi?
I will go with
Carolina. All right. Fair enough. That's our picks for the week.
Because she likes the barbecue sauce.
That's right. He likes the black quarterback. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, it'll be the last call. We want to thank Frank Aquila for joining us here. Thank Klaatu for coming in. Adrian, you going to stick around for a little bit?
Yeah.
All right, Adrian's going to sit in on the fourth hour. The last call comes up around the top of the hour news. Thanks for Strip and all the hard work he's doing.
Good job, Caleb.
By the way, he does have a restraining order against the baboon that attacked him. That's good to know.
Brought to you by Pringles.
We shouldn't call Amber a baboon, should we?
Kevin is freely going to share.
Give me my Pringles.
Kevin is going to share the Pringles.
Give me my. You're going to break up all my chips, you bastard.
Never mind. Trojo brought the stacks.
All right. No news. Kill the news. We'll just do commercials. Last call's next.
You better give a good goddamn intro.
Hey, St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all